Welcome to a journey through the dark and intricate world of Batman Arkham City, where the boundaries between justice and chaos blur into the shadows of Gotham's most dangerous district. Tonight, we're diving deep into the facts, stories, and hidden details of one of gaming's most celebrated Batman adventures. Settle in, get comfortable, and let's explore the vast criminal playground that transformed a piece of Gotham into a supervillain's paradise. Picture this: a massive section of Gotham City, walled off and transformed into an open-air prison where the city's worst criminals roam free. This is Arkham City, a place where survival means navigating between warring gangs, solving deadly riddles, and uncovering conspiracies that reach into the highest levels of power. The mastermind behind this controversial experiment is Professor Hugo Strange, a brilliant but twisted psychologist who believes he can cure crime through extreme measures. The story begins not with Batman swooping through the night, but with Bruce Wayne speaking at a press conference. He's there to protest the existence of Arkham City, calling it inhumane and dangerous. But Strange has other plans. Within moments, Bruce is arrested by Tiger Guards, Strange's private military force that patrols the mega prison. As Bruce is processed and thrown into Arkham City, we learn that Strange knows Batman's secret identity, adding a personal dimension to their conflict that runs deeper than hero versus villain. The creation of Arkham City itself represents a fascinating backstory that shapes everything we experience in the game. After the events at Arkham Asylum, where the facility was severely damaged and proved inadequate for containing Gotham's supervillains, the city government faced a crisis. Mayor Quincy Sharp, who had been the warden of Arkham Asylum, proposed a radical solution that would have seemed unthinkable under normal circumstances. He suggested cordoning off an entire district of Gotham City, specifically the deteriorating area known as North Gotham, and transforming it into a massive open-air prison. This wasn't just any neighborhood that was chosen for this transformation. North Gotham contained some of the city's most historic landmarks, including the Monarch Theater, where Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered, the original Gotham Cathedral, and Crime Alley itself. The symbolism wasn't lost on Bruce Wayne, seeing the site of his greatest trauma transformed into a monument to criminal chaos. The city used eminent domain to force out thousands of residents, many of them poor and unable to fight the legal battle against their displacement. Their abandoned homes and businesses would become the playground for Gotham's most dangerous criminals. The walls of Arkham City stand as imposing monuments to fear and abandonment. These aren't simple barriers, but technological marvels equipped with automated defense systems, surveillance equipment, and contingencies for every possible escape attempt. The construction happened with suspicious speed, as if someone had been planning this for years before the Arkham Asylum incident provided the perfect excuse. Hugo Strange oversaw every detail, implementing psychological warfare elements into the very architecture of the prison. The walls lean inward slightly, creating a subconscious sense of being trapped. Guard towers are positioned to ensure no spot within the prison lacks surveillance, though in practice, Tiger forces only patrol the perimeter and intervene in the prison's internal affairs selectively. Once inside the walls, Bruce Wayne must quickly become Batman to survive. The prison is divided into territories controlled by different supervillains. The Joker has claimed the old Monarch Theater and Bane's former headquarters from Arkham Asylum. Two-Face runs the courthouse and surrounding areas. The Penguin has turned the Natural History Museum into his personal fortress. Each villain has gathered followers, creating their own miniature kingdoms within the larger prison. The process of Bruce Wayne becoming Batman within Arkham City showcases a character's resourcefulness and preparation. Even captured and stripped of his equipment, Bruce had contingency plans. Alfred coordinates supply drops from the Batwing, delivering the Batsuit and essential gadgets to strategic locations. The transformation from billionaire prisoner to Dark Knight happens in the shadows of Arkham City's church, a symbolic location suggesting redemption is possible even in this hellscape. Bruce's ability to summon his alter ego without the usual resources of the Batcave demonstrates that Batman is more than just gadgets and a costume. He's a state of mind, a force of will that exists independent of external tools. The political prisoners trapped within Arkham City represent one of the game's darkest elements. These aren't hardened criminals, but journalists, activists, and ordinary citizens who oppose Mayor Sharp's policies or simply knew too much about the corruption behind Arkham City's creation. They huddle in safe zones, terrified to venture into gang territories. slowly starving as supplies dwindle. Their presence raises uncomfortable questions about collective punishment and the ease with which civil liberties can be suspended in the name of security. Batman's interactions with these innocents remind players that Arkham City isn't just a battlefield for costumed heroes and villains, but a humanitarian crisis affecting real people. The main storyline revolves around a ticking clock that affects both Batman and his greatest enemy. The Joker is dying from the Titan formula he injected himself with during the events at Arkham Asylum. His blood has become toxic, and he's slowly deteriorating. In a desperate move, the Joker infects Batman with his poisoned blood, ensuring that the Dark Knight will be motivated to find a cure that can save them both. This creates an unusual dynamic where Batman must work to save the life of his arch-nemesis to save himself. The Joker's infection of Batman goes beyond simple poisoning. He's created a biological connection between them, forcing Batman to experience what the Joker experiences. As the toxin progresses, Batman begins hearing the Joker's voice in his head, not as a hallucination, but as a genuine merging of consciousness. This psychological invasion represents the Joker's most intimate attack on Batman yet, getting inside his mind in a way no physical assault ever could. The game plays with this connection throughout, making players question which thoughts are Batman's and which are the Joker's influence. The search for a cure leads Batman to Mr. Freeze, whose cryogenic research might hold the key to stopping the poison. Victor Fries isn't in Arkham City by choice. He's been forced to work with the Penguin, who keeps Freeze's suit and his frozen wife Nora as leverage. Batman must first rescue Freeze from the Penguin's museum, navigating through exhibits filled with dangerous traps and the Penguin's armed thugs. The museum sequence showcases one of the game's most memorable encounters, where Batman faces a massive zombie like Solomon Grundy in an underground gladiator arena beneath the museum. The Penguin's museum deserves special attention as one of Arkham City's most disturbing locations. Oswald Cobblepot has transformed the Cyrus Pinckney Natural History Museum into a twisted monument to his own ego and sadism. He's collected exhibits that include captured police officers frozen in ice, still alive but suspended in agonizing display cases. The museum's legitimate exhibits have been perverted into weapons and traps. Dinosaur skeletons become platforms for snipers. Ancient artifacts are repurposed as torture devices. The Grand Hall that once educated Gotham's children about natural history now serves as a gladiatorial arena where inmates fight to the death for Penguin's amusement. Solomon Grundy's presence beneath the museum connects to Gotham's hidden history. The creature that was once Cyrus Gold has been dormant in the underground chambers for decades, perhaps centuries. The Penguin discovered him and found a way to control him, using electrical generators that continuously resurrect him whenever he falls. The fight against Grundy isn't just a boss battle, but a disturbing exploration of what happens when death itself becomes a weapon. Each time Batman defeats Grundy, the generators bring him back, stronger and angrier, forcing players to think strategically about disrupting the resurrection cycle rather than simply dealing damage. After freeing Mr. Freeze, Batman learns that creating a cure requires a sample of blood from someone who has been exposed to the Lazarus Pit, the mystical substance that can restore life and heal any injury. This revelation points to one person, Ra's al Ghul, the immortal leader of the League of Assassins. Finding Ra's means descending into Wonder City, the forgotten foundations upon which modern Gotham was built. This underground realm holds secrets dating back centuries, including the location of a Lazarus Pit that Ra's has been using to extend his life for hundreds of years. Wonder City represents one of the game's most fascinating lore elements. This isn't just an old part of Gotham, but an entirely different city that existed before modern Gotham was built on top of it. The architecture shows Middle Eastern influences, with mechanical guardians and automated systems that still function after centuries of abandonment. The League of Assassins discovered this place long ago and recognized its potential. The natural Lazarus Pit beneath Wonder City is what drew them to Gotham in the first place, making the city a strategic location in their centuries-long campaign to reshape human civilization. The mechanical guardians of Wonder City deserve special examination. These clockwork soldiers use technology that seems impossible for their era, suggesting the League of Assassins had access to advanced knowledge that the rest of the world wouldn't discover for generations. They move with mechanical precision, feeling no fear or pain, following their programming with absolute dedication. Fighting them requires different tactics than human opponents, as they can't be intimidated or confused by Batman's usual psychological warfare techniques. Their designs blend Arabic geometric patterns with Victorian engineering, creating enemies that feel both ancient and futuristic. The journey to find Ra's al Ghul introduces players to Wonder Tower, the massive structure at the heart of Arkham City that serves as Hugo Strange's base of operations. Strange watches everything from this tower, monitoring the inmates and preparing for something called Protocol 10. Throughout the game, Batman intercepts communications about Protocol 10, but its true nature remains mysterious. Strange keeps announcing countdowns over the prison's PA system, building tension as the deadline approaches. Wonder Tower itself has a complex history that predates Arkham City. The structure was originally built as part of Wonder City, serving as an astronomical observatory and mystical focal point for the ancient civilization. When modern Gotham was constructed above Wonder City, the tower was incorporated into the new city's architecture, though its true purpose was forgotten by all except the League of Assassins. Hugo Strange discovered the tower's history during his research into Gotham's criminal psychology and recognized it as the perfect base for his operations. The tower's height gives him a god's eye view of Arkham City, while its ancient foundations connect to the tunnel systems that riddle Gotham's underground. Ra's al Ghul's presence in Arkham City isn't coincidental. The immortal assassin has been manipulating events from the shadows, using Hugo Strange as a puppet to achieve his own goals. Ra's believes that crime is a disease that must be purged completely, and he sees Arkham City as the perfect laboratory for his final solution. His daughter Talia appears throughout the story, torn between loyalty to her father and her feelings for Batman, whom Ra's has long considered a potential heir to his empire. The relationship between Ra's al Ghul and Hugo Strange reveals layers of manipulation and mutual exploitation. Strange believes he's using Ra's resources to achieve his vision of eliminating crime through extreme measures. Ra's sees Strange as a useful tool for gathering Gotham's criminals in one location for elimination. Neither truly trust the other, and both plan to betray their partner once their goals are achieved. This web of deception creates dramatic irony where Batman understands a full picture better than either conspirator, despite being their primary target. Talia al Ghul's role in the story goes beyond simple love interest or conflicted daughter. She represents a path not taken for Batman, a world where he could have unlimited resources and an army of followers dedicated to his vision of justice. Her genuine affection for Batman conflicts with her programmed loyalty to her father and the League. Every interaction between Talia and Batman carries the weight of what could have been if Batman were willing to compromise his principles for power. Her presence forces Batman to repeatedly choose between the easy path of accepting the League's resources and the difficult path of maintaining his independence and moral code. The demon trials that Batman must undergo to earn Ra's blood sample are surreal experiences that blend reality with hallucination. Using an ancient drug, Batman enters a dream world where he must prove himself worthy through combat and puzzle solving. Giant sand constructs of Ra's attack from all directions while the architecture of the trial ground shifts and changes like a living maze. These sequences show the game's creative approach to boss battles, moving beyond simple combat to create memorable, theatrical experiences. The hallucinogenic properties of the Demon Trials drug connect to the larger theme of altered perception throughout Arkham City. Between the Joker's poison affecting his mind, the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, and the Demon Trials, Batman spends significant portions of the game questioning what's real. This psychological uncertainty creates a more personal form of vulnerability than physical threats. Batman's greatest asset has always been his mind, his ability to analyze and understand. When that faculty is compromised, he becomes genuinely vulnerable in ways that no amount of armor or gadgets can protect against. Meanwhile, Catwoman pursues her own agenda within Arkham City. She's after a specific prize, the contents of Hugo Strange's vault, which supposedly contains confiscated goods from Gotham's criminals. Her story intersects with Batman's at key moments, creating a parallel narrative about moral choices and survival. Catwoman must decide between self-interest and helping others, particularly when Batman's life hangs in the balance. Her agility and unique gadgets offer a different perspective on navigating Arkham City's dangers. Catwoman's presence in Arkham City isn't accidental. She chose to enter the prison, seeing it as an opportunity rather than a trap. While others see walls keeping them in, she sees walls keeping law enforcement out. Her plan to rob Strange's vault shows her ability to find opportunity in chaos. She's mapped the prison's territory, identified the power players, and calculated how to navigate between them while pursuing her goals. Her storyline shows that Arkham City isn't just a prison, but an ecosystem where the clever can thrive if they're willing to take risks. The relationship between Batman and Catwoman adds emotional complexity to the harsh world of Arkham City. Their flirtation and mutual respect create moments of levity in an otherwise dark story. Catwoman sees through Batman's stoic facade, recognizing the man beneath the cowl. Their interactions explore themes of trust and redemption, questioning whether people can truly change or they're forever defined by their past actions. The dynamic between Batman and Catwoman in Arkham City differs from their usual cat and mouse game. Here, they're both trapped in the same cage, forced to acknowledge their similarities rather than their differences. Catwoman's moral flexibility contrasts with Batman's rigid code, but both are ultimately trying to survive and protect innocence in their own way. Their conversations reveal vulnerability on both sides, with Catwoman dropping her usual playful facade to show genuine concern for Batman's deteriorating condition, while Batman admits needing help despite his usual insistence on working alone. Two-Face represents another tragic figure in Arkham City's roster of villains. Harvey Dent, once Gotham's crusading district attorney and Bruce Wayne's friend, has fully embraced his criminal persona. He holds court in the abandoned Solomon Wayne courthouse, making decisions through coin flips that determine life or death for those brought before him. His obsession with duality and chance reflects his fractured psyche, unable to reconcile his two halves. The courthouse that Two-Face has claimed carries special significance for Bruce Wayne. Solomon Wayne was Bruce's ancestor, a judge who helped establish Gotham's legal system. Seeing this monument to justice perverted into a criminal court, where chance determines verdict adds personal pain to Batman's mission. Two-Face's mock trials parody the legal system Harvey Dent once served, with a flip of a coin replacing evidence and argument. The courthouse's degradation mirrors Harvey's own fall from grace, both broken by the very criminals they once fought to contain. Harvey Dent's transformation into Two-Face within Arkham City shows the complete dissolution of his former identity. Where once there was internal conflict between Harvey and Two-Face, now the criminal persona dominates almost entirely. The coin that once helped him make decisions has become his master rather than his tool. He can't act without it, paralyzed by indecision, unless chance makes the choice for him. His gang members have learned to manipulate this dependency, ensuring important decisions happen when they can predict or influence the coin's outcome. The Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot, has transformed the Cyrus Pinckney Natural History Museum into a twisted reflection of his aristocratic pretensions. He displays captured cops like trophies, forces inmates to fight for his amusement, and hoards weapons and artifacts that give him power over his territory. The broken bottle jammed in his eye socket serves as both monocle and weapon, a grotesque symbol of his violent nature hidden beneath a veneer of sophistication. Oswald Cobblepot's backstory in Arkham City reveals the depths of his resentment toward Gotham's elite. The Cobblepot family was once as wealthy and respected as the Waynes, but poor business decisions and scandals reduced them to mockery. Oswald's attempt to maintain aristocratic airs while engaging in brutal criminality creates a disturbing contradiction. He speaks of culture and refinement while torturing victims. He surrounds himself with stolen art and antiquities while living in squalor. His museum isn't just a base of operations, but a desperate attempt to reclaim the status he believes was stolen from him. The Penguin's relationship with his gang members shows how fear and resources create loyalty in Arkham City. He pays better than other crime bosses, having looted much of the city's abandoned wealth. But he also maintains control through extreme violence, feeding those who disappoint him to his pet shark or using them as target practice. His lieutenants compete for his favor while plotting against each other, creating an atmosphere of paranoid competition. This organizational culture reflects Penguin's own insecurities, surrounding himself with people as desperate and ruthless as himself. Riddler returns with his most elaborate challenge yet. Edward Nygma has kidnapped medical personnel and hidden them throughout Arkham City in elaborate death traps. Batman must solve hundreds of riddles and collect trophies to save these hostages and ultimately confront the Riddler directly. These challenges reveal hidden areas and reward exploration, encouraging players to investigate every corner of the prison. The Riddler's obsession with proving his intellectual superiority over Batman drives him to increasingly desperate measures. The Riddler's presence in Arkham City represents a massive escalation from his previous schemes. He's moved from leaving clues about crimes to creating elaborate Saw-like death traps that will kill innocents if Batman fails to solve them in time. His informants are scattered throughout the prison, marked with green question marks, forced to work for him through blackmail and threats. The Riddler trophies aren't just collectibles, but parts of an elaborate mechanism that controls the death traps. Each one Batman collects weakens Riddler's control over his hostages, turning collection into a moral imperative rather than just completion obsession. Edward Nygma's psychological profile, revealed through audio logs and conversations, shows a man destroyed by his need for validation. He was a gifted child whose intelligence isolated him from peers, and whose father's abuse convinced him that being smart was his only value. His compulsion to prove his superiority isn't just ego, but a desperate attempt to justify his existence. Every riddle Batman solves is both a victory and a defeat for Riddler, proving someone else can match his intellect while simultaneously engaging with his game. He needs Batman to play but can't bear Batman winning, trapped in a psychological paradox that drives him deeper into madness. The side missions in Arkham City tell smaller, but equally compelling stories. Zash, the serial killer who marks his body with scars for each victim, uses payphones to taunt Batman with the locations of his next murders. Deadshot has been hired to assassinate specific targets within the prison, leaving Batman to trace bullet trajectories and prevent further killings. The Mad Hatter drugs Batman and forces him through a twisted tea party that warps reality itself. Victor Zash's phone call missions create some of the game's most tense moments. The killer has set up an elaborate game where he calls random payphones throughout Arkham City, and if Batman doesn't answer within a time limit, Zash kills a hostage. The calls come at unpredictable times, forcing players to drop whatever they're doing and race across the city. Zash's monologues during these calls reveal his philosophy that life is meaningless and that he's liberating his victims from the burden of existence. His calm, matter-of-fact tone while describing horrific murders creates a chilling contrast that makes him one of Arkham City's most disturbing villains. Deadshot's assassination missions showcase the game's detective mechanics. Floyd Lawton has been hired by someone outside Arkham City to eliminate specific individuals within the prison. Batman must investigate crime scenes, analyze bullet trajectories, and triangulate the shooter's position to predict his next target. The victims seem random at first, but investigation reveals they're all connected to a specific event in Gotham's past, suggesting Deadshot's employer has a very personal agenda. The missions culminate in a confrontation where Batman must use everything he's learned about Deadshot's methods to defeat him. The Mad Hatter side mission provides one of the game's most surreal experiences. Jervis Tech has been using his mind control technology to gather specific inmates, looking for someone to play Alice in his twisted Wonderland fantasy. When he captures Batman, the Dark Knight must navigate a hallucination where reality operates on storybook logic rather than physical laws. The environment constantly shifts, gravity becomes subjective, and enemies wear rabbit masks while speaking in rhyme. The mission explores how dangerous, seemingly harmless delusions can become when given power over others. Bane, reduced from his venom-enhanced strength, seeks to destroy the remaining Titan containers hidden throughout Arkham City. He recognizes the danger the drug poses and wants to prevent anyone from recreating his addiction and transformation. His partnership with Batman is purely practical, but it hints at the complex relationship between the two adversaries who respect each other's strength and determination. Bane's reduced state in Arkham City shows the cost of his previous defeat. Without a steady supply of venom, he's experienced withdrawal that nearly killed him. His body is atrophied from its enhanced state, leaving him still strong but nowhere near his peak. He's more lucid without the drug clouding his mind, showing the intelligence that made him one of the few villains to deduce Batman's identity. His temporary alliance with Batman reveals a man trying to prevent others from suffering his fate, showing unexpected nobility beneath the monster exterior. The search for Titan containers takes Batman and Bane throughout Arkham City, revealing how the drug is spread, since the Arkham Asylum incident. Various gangs have found containers and are experimenting with diluted versions, creating new threats. Some inmates have become addicted to whatever traces they can find, turning into mindless brutes. Bane's determination to destroy every trace of Titan comes from understanding its true danger, not just a physical transformation, but the psychological addiction that follows. He speaks from experience about the voice in his head that still whispers for him to take the drug again. Calendar Man sits in his cell beneath the courthouse, sharing different stories depending on the date. His tales of holiday-themed murders reveal a methodical madness that makes him one of Gotham's most disturbing criminals. Solomon Grundy, the undead monster dwelling beneath the Penguin's museum, recites his nursery rhyme while attacking with devastating strength. These encounters add depth to the world, showing that even minor villains have rich histories and motivations. Calendar Man's presence in Arkham City is entirely voluntary. He could escape his cell at any time, but chooses to remain, seeing his imprisonment as part of some cosmic calendar that only he understands. His stories change based on a real-world date when players visit him, creating a unique experience that encourages returning to game throughout the year. His tales are disturbing not for their violence, but for their banality, describing murders the way others might discuss grocery shopping. He represents a different kind of insanity than the Joker's chaos or Two-Face's duality, a methodical madness that finds meaning in arbitrary patterns. The game's attention to environmental storytelling deserves special recognition. Crime scenes tell stories without words, like the chalk outline where Bruce Wayne's parents died in Crime Alley, now incorporated into Arkham City. Scattered interview tapes reveal character backstories and strange psychological manipulation of his patients. Every building and alleyway has history, from the Monarch Theater where the Waynes were killed to the abandoned Wonder Tower foundations that predate modern Gotham. Crime Alley's inclusion in Arkham City feels like a deliberate insult to Batman. The place where Bruce Wayne was born through tragedy has been incorporated into a monument to criminal victory. The chalk outlines of Thomas and Martha Wayne have been preserved, not out of respect, but as a trophy. Gang members tag the walls with graffiti mocking Batman's origin. Yet Batman returns to this spot repeatedly throughout the game, laying roses at the outline and renewing his vow. This small act of remembrance in the midst of chaos shows that Batman's mission isn't about the criminals he fights, but the parents he honors. The environmental details throughout Arkham City reveal the rapid degradation of a once thriving neighborhood. Storefronts still display their last sales from before the evacuation. Apartments contain half-eaten meals abandoned when residents were forced to leave. Children's drawings still hang on refrigerators in homes now used as gang hideouts. These details humanize the crisis, showing that Arkham City was carved from a living community, not just empty buildings. The tragedy extends beyond the current inmates to the thousands whose lives were disrupted to create this prison. Hugo Strange himself presents a different kind of villain than Batman usually faces. He's not insane like the Joker or driven by tragedy like Mr. Freeze. Strange is coldly logical, convinced that his methods will save Gotham by eliminating crime permanently. His knowledge of Batman's identity gives him psychological leverage, allowing him to attack Bruce Wayne and Batman simultaneously. Strange recordings reveal his obsession with Batman, studying him like a specimen while secretly envying and wanting to replace him. Strange's psychological profile of Batman, developed through years of study, reveals uncomfortable insights. He identifies Batman's need for control as stemming from a helplessness he felt watching his parents die. He recognizes that Batman's refusal to kill comes not from moral superiority, but from fear of becoming like the criminal who created him. Strange sees Batman's entire persona as an elaborate coping mechanism for unprocessed trauma. These observations aren't entirely wrong, which makes them more disturbing than if they were simply the ravings of a madman. The relationship between Strange and his Tiger Guards shows how authority can corrupt those who wield it. These mercenaries began as professional soldiers, but have become increasingly brutal under Strange's command. They've been conditioned to see inmates as less than human, following orders without question. Their radio chatter reveals growing enthusiasm for Protocol 10. Not because they believe in Strange's vision, but because they enjoy the power and violence. Strange has created monsters while believing he's creating order. The voice acting brings these characters to life with remarkable performances. Mark Hamill's Joker delivers his swan song performance with manic energy and hidden vulnerability. The Joker knows he's dying, and beneath the laughter is genuine fear of mortality. Kevin Conroy's Batman conveys strength and determination even as the poison weakens him. The supporting cast creates distinct personalities for each character, from Nolan North's cocky Penguin to Maurice LaMarche's calculating Mr. Freeze. Mark Hamill's performance as the Joker in Arkham City represents the culmination of decades playing the character. He brings layers to what could be a one-dimensional villain, showing the Joker's fear beneath his bravado. As the poison progresses, the Joker's voice becomes weaker, his laughter more forced. The moments where his facade cracks, revealing genuine terror at the prospect of death, are among the game's most powerful. Hamill makes the Joker's final joke, that Batman would have saved him, both funny and heartbreaking. Kevin Conroy's Batman shows the character's vulnerability without sacrificing his strength. His voice gradually weakens as the poison affects him, but the determination never wavers. Conroy differentiates between Batman's public voice, his true voice with Alfred, and the intermediate tone he uses with allies like Oracle. The subtle shifts reveal different aspects of the character, from the intimidating vigilante to the caring mentor to the desperate man racing against time. The combat system tells its own story through gameplay. Batman's fighting style adapts to different enemy types, showing his tactical mind at work. He studies opponents, identifies weaknesses, and adjusts his approach accordingly. The free-flow combat creates a rhythm that mirrors Batman's expertise, making players feel like the world's greatest detective and fighter. Gadgets integrate seamlessly into combat, from smoke pellets that create confusion to freeze grenades that incapacitate enemies. The evolution of combat throughout the game reflects Batman's adaptation to Arkham City's challenges. Early fights involve simple thugs with basic weapons. Later encounters include enemies with shields, armor, and firearms that require specific strategies. The game introduces new enemy types gradually, teaching players to recognize and counter different threats. This progression mirrors Batman's own learning process as he encounters new challenges and develops solutions. The combat becomes increasingly complex but never overwhelming, maintaining the flow that makes players feel powerful while demanding skill. Combat animations deserve special attention for their storytelling value. Batman doesn't just defeat enemies. He systematically dismantles them. Each takedown is precisely calculated to incapacitate, without killing. The way Batman catches falling enemies to prevent fatal drops, or pulls punches against weaker opponents, shows his restraint. Meanwhile, enemy reactions vary based on their awareness of Batman's reputation. New inmates fight aggressively, while those who've heard stories hesitate, already half defeated by fear. Predator sequences showcase Batman's ability to inspire fear. Gargoyles provide vantage points for observation and attack. Batman can eliminate armed enemies one by one, using environmental takedowns and gadgets to remain unseen. The escalating panic among thugs as their numbers dwindle adds psychological warfare to physical combat. These sections emphasize that Batman is as much about intimidation as direct confrontation. The psychological aspect of Predator encounters evolves as enemies become more familiar with Batman's tactics. They start checking gargoyles, laying traps, and working in groups to cover blind spots. Some enemies wear heartbeat monitors that alert others if they're taken down. Others use thermal imaging to spot Batman in the darkness. This arms race forces players to constantly evolve their strategies, using new gadgets and environmental opportunities. The game becomes a conversation between Batman and his enemies, each adapting to the other's tactics. Environmental takedowns in Predator sections tell many stories about Batman's improvisational skills. He uses whatever's available, from dropping chandeliers on enemies to bursting through walls for surprise attacks. These moments show Batman as an opportunist who turns his surroundings into weapons. The variety of takedown options in each area encourages experimentation and replay, as players discover new ways to eliminate threats. Each playthrough can tell a different story of how Batman approached the same challenge. The game's pacing carefully balances action with investigation. Detective vision reveals clues invisible to the naked eye, allowing Batman to reconstruct crime scenes and track targets. Following blood trails, analyzing evidence, and decoding signals show the cerebral side of being Batman. These quieter moments provide breathing room between intense combat encounters, while advancing the story through discovery rather than exposition. Detective mode investigation sequences respect player intelligence by requiring genuine deduction. Following a blood trail isn't just holding a button, but requires observing splatter patterns to determine direction and speed. Analyzing a sniper's position involves understanding ballistics and trajectory. Reconstructing crime scenes means paying attention to evidence order and causality. These sequences make players think like detectives rather than simply following waypoints, creating satisfaction when solving mysteries through observation and logic. The augmented reality training programs scattered throughout Arkham City serve multiple purposes. They teach advanced techniques while providing optional challenges for skilled players. But they also reveal Batman's mindset, showing how he conceptualizes combat and movement as abstract problems to solve. The AR challenges strip away narrative context to focus on pure mechanics, yet they still tell a story about Batman's constant self-improvement and his reduction of complex situations to manageable components. Arkham City's architecture tells the story of Gotham's decay and transformation. Art Deco buildings stand alongside modern structures, all showing signs of hasty conversion into a prison. Makeshift bridges connect rooftops, creating paths for those who can navigate them. The Ferris wheel on Bane's old territory serves as a landmark and sniper nest. Every district has its own character, from the industrial area's smokestacks to Park Row's abandoned apartments. The vertical layers of Arkham City create distinct zones of control and danger. Street level belongs to desperate inmates and gang soldiers who can't escape to higher ground. The rooftops form Batman's domain, where he can move freely and observe the chaos below. Underground tunnels hide secrets and dangers, from Killer Croc's lair to the Riddler's death traps. This stratification creates a three-dimensional environment where position determines power. Those who control the high ground control the city, explaining why snipers and Batman are so feared. The industrial district tells its own story through environmental design. This area housed Gotham's manufacturing, before economic decline turned factories into ruins. Now these abandoned facilities serve as weapon caches and drug labs for various gangs. The Joker has converted a steel mill into a fortress, using industrial equipment as torture devices. The contrast between the district's productive past and criminal present reflects Gotham's broader decline. Machinery that once built now destroys, paralleling how the city's institutions have been perverted into tools of oppression. The weather system adds atmosphere to the experience. Snow falls throughout the night, accumulating on surfaces and creating a cold, hostile environment. Batman's cape billows in the wind as he glides between buildings. Lightning occasionally illuminates the sky, casting dramatic shadows. These environmental effects aren't just cosmetic. They contribute to the feeling of being trapped in a dangerous winter night that seems to last forever. The weather in Arkham City serves narrative purposes beyond atmosphere. The unseasonably cold winter adds suffering to imprisonment, making survival harder for those without shelter. Snow covers evidence of crimes while creating new dangers from ice and poor visibility. The constant cold becomes another enemy Batman must overcome, as his poisoned body struggles to maintain temperature. Weather reports on abandoned radios suggest this isn't natural weather, but possibly influenced by Mr. Freeze's presence or some other artificial cause. Protocol 10's true nature becomes clear as the deadline approaches. Strange doesn't intend to rehabilitate Arkham City's inmates. He plans to eliminate them entirely. Tiger Guards have been positioning themselves for a military strike that will kill everyone within the walls, criminal and political prisoner alike. Strange believes this mass execution will demonstrate the effectiveness of his methods, leading to similar facilities worldwide where crime can be permanently eradicated. The revelation of Protocol 10's genocidal nature recontextualizes everything that came before. Strange psychological evaluations weren't about understanding criminals, but cataloging them for elimination. The walls weren't built to keep criminals in, but to ensure none escaped the massacre. The Tiger Guard's increasing brutality was conditioning for mass murder. Every countdown announcement was psychological torture, building fear in those who suspected the truth. Strange has been playing God, deciding who lives and dies based on his definition of criminality. The logistics of Protocol 10 reveal military precision planning. Tiger helicopters have specific zones to strafe. Ground forces have lists of bunkers to check for survivors. Strange has even calculated acceptable civilian casualties among the political prisoners, considering them necessary sacrifices for the greater good. The plan's thoroughness shows Strange's obsession with control and a complete disconnect from human empathy. He discusses mass murder with the same clinical detachment others might use for pest control. The revelation of Ra's al Ghul's involvement adds another layer to conspiracy. The League of Assassins has been funding Strange's operations, using him to gather Gotham's criminals in one location for elimination. Ra's sees this as part of his centuries-long mission to save the world by destroying the corrupt parts of civilization. His previous attempts to destroy Gotham failed because of Batman's intervention, but now he's found a way to achieve his goals while maintaining distance from the actual violence. Ra's al Ghul's manipulation of Strange shows the Immortal's understanding of human psychology developed over centuries. He identified Strange's Messiah complex and nurtured it, making Strange believe Protocol 10 was his own idea. Ra's provided resources and support while remaining hidden, letting Strange take all the risks. This manipulation reflects Ra's experience in toppling empires and reshaping civilizations from the shadows. He's learned that direct action often fails, but supporting useful extremists achieves results while maintaining deniability. The League of Assassins' presence in Arkham City extends beyond Ra's immediate plans. League members have infiltrated Tiger, ensuring Protocol 10 proceeds regardless of Strange's fate. They position themselves throughout Gotham's power structure, ready to expand the Arkham City model worldwide. The conspiracy reaches deeper than Batman initially realized, suggesting that stopping Strange and Ra's might only delay a larger plan. This network of influence built over centuries can't be dismantled in a single night. Batman's poisoning creates personal stakes beyond saving Arkham City's inmates. The Joker's blood causes hallucinations that grow stronger as the night progresses. Batman sees and hears things that aren't there, questioning his own perceptions. These moments blur the line between reality and madness, showing how thin the barrier between Batman and his enemies really is. The poison forces Batman confront his own mortality and what will happen to Gotham without him. The hallucinations induced by the Joker's poison become increasingly personal and disturbing. Batman sees his parents' murder recreated with himself as the killer. He witnesses apocalyptic visions of Gotham burning, while he laughs like the Joker. These hallucinations aren't random but targeted, suggesting the poison somehow accesses Batman's deepest fears and uses them against him. The psychological torture exceeds any physical pain, forcing Batman to question his sanity and identity. The physical symptoms of the poisoning tell their own story through gameplay. Batman's vision occasionally blurs, making navigation difficult. His hands shake during precision tasks, affecting gadget use. His stamina depletes faster, making extended combat more challenging. These mechanical changes make players feel Batman's deterioration, creating urgency beyond narrative countdown timers. The poison becomes a character itself, an invisible enemy that can't be fought directly. The Joker's plan reveals layers within layers. He hasn't just poisoned Batman. He's contaminated Gotham's blood supply with his infected blood, creating numerous potential Jokers throughout the city. Even if Batman finds a cure for himself, he must ensure it can be mass-produced to save innocent victims. This transforms a personal crisis into a city-wide threat, typical of how the Joker operates on multiple levels of chaos simultaneously. The infected blood plot shows the Joker's understanding of viral psychology. He knows that fear of infection will cause panic even among those not affected. Hospitals will be overwhelmed with people believing they're infected. Trust in blood banks will collapse. Society will tear itself apart through fear before the actual poison kills anyone. The Joker has weaponized paranoia itself, creating chaos that will outlive him. His legacy becomes not just death, but the breakdown of social trust necessary for civilization. The mechanics of the Joker's blood poisoning reveal disturbing implications. The Titan formula hasn't just damaged cells. It's rewritten DNA, creating a mutagen that transforms victims at a genetic level. Those infected don't just die. They become something else, something that thinks like the Joker. Batman isn't just racing to save lives, but to prevent a plague of Joker consciousness spreading through Gotham. The stakes exceed death, threatening identity itself. Mr. Freeze's boss battle stands out as one of gaming's most innovative encounters. Freeze learns from Batman's tactics, forcing players to use different strategies with each attack. If Batman uses a vent takedown, Freeze will ice over all vents. If Batman attacks from above, Freeze will watch the ceiling. This adaptive AI creates a chess match where both combatants must constantly evolve their strategies. The fight takes place in the old GCPD building, now frozen and transformed into Freeze's laboratory. The brilliance of the Mr. Freeze fight extends beyond mechanical innovation. It tells a story through gameplay about two intelligent opponents who respect each other despite being enemies. Freeze's adaptations show he's studying Batman just as Batman studies criminals. Neither can rely on superior strength or firepower. Victory requires outthinking the opponent. The fight becomes a conversation conducted through violence. Each attack a statement, and each counter a response. The environment of the Freeze battle adds layers to the encounter. The frozen GCPD building was once Batman's ally in law enforcement, now transformed into an enemy's stronghold. Ice sculptures of cops serve as reminders of Freeze's victims, while also providing cover. The temperature drops throughout the fight, creating urgency as Batman's poisoned body struggles with hypothermia. Every element reinforces a theme of transformation, showing how quickly allies become enemies in Arkham City. The tragedy of Victor and Nora Fries adds emotional weight to the conflict. Freeze isn't simply evil. He's desperate to save his dying wife, preserved in cryogenic suspension while he searches for a cure to her terminal disease. Every crime he commits, every moral line he crosses, stems from love and desperation. Batman understands this motivation even as he opposes Freeze's methods, creating sympathy for a villain who could be a hero under different circumstances. Nora's presence throughout Freeze's story raises questions about consent and autonomy. She never asked to be frozen, never agreed to the crimes committed in her name. Freeze assumes she will want to live at any cost, but we never hear her voice. She exists as an object of desire rather than a person with agency, frozen literally and metaphorically. This troubling dynamic suggests Freeze's love might be more selfish than selfless, preserving Nora for his own needs rather than respecting what she might have wanted. The scientific ethics of Freeze's research create moral ambiguity. His cryogenic discoveries could revolutionize medicine, saving countless lives. But these advances come from human experimentation and criminal funding. Batman must decide whether to preserve Freeze's research or destroy it, knowing that good could come from evil origins. This dilemma reflects real-world questions about using data from unethical experiments, forcing players to consider whether knowledge itself can be tainted. Talia al Ghul's role becomes crucial as the story reaches its climax. She offers Batman a deal, become her father's successor, and gain access to the Lazarus Pit, which could cure his poisoning permanently. This temptation forces Batman to choose between an easy solution and his principles. Accepting Ra's offer would mean embracing the League's methods of killing criminals rather than seeking justice through law. Talia genuinely cares for Batman but remains loyal to her father's vision, creating a tragic love triangle built on incompatible ideologies. Talia's relationship with Batman transcends simple romance. She represents a life Batman could have had if he'd made different choices. With the League's resources, he could eliminate crime permanently rather than fighting an endless war. With Talia, he could have partnership and understanding rather than isolation. She offers not just love, but an entire alternative existence. Batman's rejection of this offer shows his commitment to his principles exceeds his desire for happiness or even survival. The dynamics between Talia, Ra's, and Batman create a twisted family drama. Ra's sees Batman as a son he never had, the worthy heir to his empire. Talia loves Batman, but can't escape her father's influence. Batman respects both, but can't accept their methods. This dysfunctional triangle plays out against the backdrop of mass murder, adding personal stakes to philosophical conflict. The fight isn't just about saving Arkham City, but about choosing what kind of man Batman will be. The game explores what defines Batman beyond the costume and gadgets. When everything is stripped away, when he's dying and outnumbered, what makes him continue fighting? The answer lies not in his physical abilities, but in his unwavering commitment to his mission. Even poison and weakening, Batman refuses to kill, refuses to abandon those who need help, refuses to take the easy path when it conflicts with his morals. Batman's refusal to use the Lazarus Pit himself, even when dying, shows the depth of his convictions. He understands that using the pit would make him beholden to Ra's, compromising his independence. More fundamentally, he recognizes that cheating death would separate him from humanity. Batman's power comes partly from his mortality, his vulnerability that makes his courage meaningful. To become immortal like Ra's would be to lose the humanity that drives his mission. Strange psychological profile of Batman reveals uncomfortable truths. He identifies Batman's need for his villains, suggesting that Batman's identity depends on having enemies to fight. Without the Joker, without crime, who would Batman be? This analysis cuts to the core of Batman's existence, questioning whether he fights crime to help others or to satisfy his own psychological needs stemming from childhood trauma. Strange's theory that Batman creates his own villains through escalation has troubling evidence. The theatrical nature of Gotham's criminals seems to respond to Batman's theatrical methods. Criminals adopt personas and gimmicks to match their opponent. The question becomes whether Batman prevents more crime than he inspires, whether his presence makes things better or just different. These doubts attack Batman psychologically more effectively than any physical assault. The final confrontation with Strange takes place in Wonder Tower as Protocol 10 begins. Tiger helicopters strafe Arkham City with missiles and machine guns, killing inmates indiscriminately. Batman must fight through Tiger forces to reach Strange, racing against time to stop the massacre. The tower itself becomes a battlefield, with explosions threatening to bring the entire structure down. The ascent up Wonder Tower during Protocol 10 creates one of gaming's most intense sequences. Batman climbs through a war zone, with missiles exploding around him and the tower structure failing. Below, Arkham City burns as Tiger forces execute Strange genocide. Every second of delay means more deaths, adding weight to every action. The vertical progression mirrors ascending from hell, with Strange waiting at the summit, like a false god overlooking his creation's destruction. Strange's defeat doesn't end the crisis. Ra's al Ghul emerges from the shadows, killing Strange for his failure and revealing the full extent of his plan. The confrontation between Batman and Ra's represents a battle of philosophies, as much as physical combat. Ra's believes humanity is beyond redemption and must be called to save the planet. Batman maintains that everyone deserves a chance at redemption, that killing is never justified regardless of the target's crimes. Ra's execution of Strange shows the immortal's true nature. After using Strange to do his dirty work, Ra's discards him without hesitation or remorse. This betrayal was always planned. Strange was never going to survive Protocol 10 regardless of its success. Ra's has played this game for centuries, using and discarding pawns while remaining untouchable. His casual murder and ally shows how little human life means to someone who has lived for hundreds of years. The philosophical debate between Batman and Ra's during their fight transcends typical hero-villain conflict. Ra's makes logical arguments about overpopulation, environmental destruction, and the failure of reform. Batman can't entirely refute these points, but maintains that mass murder isn't the solution. Their battle becomes about means rather than ends, as both want to save the world but disagree on methods. This complexity elevates the conflict beyond good versus evil to competing philosophies of justice. The climactic battle with Ra's takes place as Wonder Tower collapses around them. The immortal assassin uses the last of his Lazarus Pit enhancement, transforming into a sand demon that towers over Batman. The fight moves from the tower to the streets below, with Batman using every skill and gadget to defeat an enemy who has centuries of combat experience. Ra's ultimate defeat comes not from Batman's fists, but from his refusal to save Ra's with the Lazarus Pit, letting the assassin face natural death. The spectacle of fighting Ra's in his sand demon form pushes the game's fantastic elements to their limit. This isn't the grounded, realistic Batman of other interpretations, but a hero facing mythological threats. The battle incorporates elements from the demon trials, blurring reality and hallucination. Players must question whether the giant sand creature is real or another poison-induced vision. This ambiguity adds psychological complexity to physical combat. Ra's death scene carries weight because of Batman's role in it. By destroying the Lazarus Pit machinery and refusing to help Ra's reach another pit, Batman essentially allows him to die. This pushes against Batman's no-killing rule without technically breaking it. Ra's even commends Batman for this choice, recognizing it as the ruthless decision he always hoped Batman would make. This moral compromise shows Batman being changed by Arkham City, forced to bend his rules in extreme circumstances. With Protocol 10 stopped and Ra's defeated, Batman returns to the Joker, cure in hand. But the clown prince of crime has deteriorated significantly, barely clinging to life. The motion capture and animation convey the Joker's weakness, a stark contrast to his usual manic energy. For perhaps the first time, players see the Joker vulnerable and afraid, facing the one enemy he can't laugh off, death itself. The Joker's final scene deserves analysis for its layered storytelling. Physically dying but mentally sharp, he maintains his humor even while terrified. His jokes become increasingly desperate, try and maintain his identity even as his body fails. The makeup running down his face reveals the man beneath the clown, someone ordinary and frightened. This humanization doesn't redeem the Joker, but makes his death more impactful than if he remained a cackling monster to the end. The Joker's final plan reveals his twisted genius. He switches the cure with a fake, attempting to trick Batman into giving him the real antidote. Even dying, the Joker can't resist one more scheme, one more joke at Batman's expense. The struggle for the cure leads to its destruction, sealing the Joker's fate. In his final moments, the Joker laughs at the irony. Batman would have saved him, would have given him the cure despite everything. But the Joker's own nature prevented his salvation. The tragedy of the Joker's death lies in its preventability. If he had simply asked for help, Batman would have saved him. If he hadn't played one last game, he would have lived. The Joker dies not from the poison, but from his inability to stop being the Joker, even when his life depends on it. This self-destruction through compulsion adds psychological depth to what could have been a simple death scene. The Joker's death marks a pivotal moment in Batman's story. Mark Hamill's performance captures the Joker's disbelief and dark amusement at his own end. His last words, wondering if Batman will miss him, hint at the complex relationship between the two enemies. The Joker defined himself through his conflict with Batman, and in death, he ensures Batman will never forget him. Batman's reaction to the Joker's death reveals volumes without words. He could have prevented it, but didn't, allowing the Joker's own nature to destroy him. There's no celebration, no relief, just exhaustion and perhaps regret. Batman closes the Joker's eyes with unexpected gentleness, showing respect for a fallen enemy. This moment humanizes Batman, showing that even he can feel loss for someone who caused so much pain. Batman carries the Joker's body out of Arkham City in one of gaming's most powerful images. Commissioner Gordon and the GCPD wait outside, seeing Batman emerge with his greatest enemy dead in his arms. No words are spoken. The visual tells the entire story. Batman places the body on a police car and disappears into the night, leaving others to handle the aftermath. This scene conveys loss, exhaustion, and a hollow nature victory when it comes at such a cost. The image of Batman carrying the Joker's body resonates on multiple levels. It evokes religious imagery of descent from the cross, suggesting sacrifice and redemption. It shows Batman taking responsibility even for his enemy's death. Most powerfully, it demonstrates that Batman's mission isn't about hatred but about justice, treating even the worst criminal with dignity in death. This image becomes a defining moment of Arkham City, summarizing its themes in a single visual. The game's epilogue missions reveal the consequences of the night's events. Harley Quinn, devastated by the Joker's death, plans revenge against Batman. Her pregnancy test hidden in the manager's office suggests the Joker's legacy might continue in unexpected ways. Two-Face attempts to consolidate power in the vacuum left by the Joker's death. The Riddler remains trapped in his own elaborate contraption, defeated by the one person smart enough to solve all his riddles. Harley Quinn's transformation after the Joker's death shows a different side of her character. Without Mr. J to define herself against, she must become her own person. Her grief is genuine, showing that her love for the Joker wasn't entirely Stockholm Syndrome. Her plans for revenge lack the Joker's chaotic genius, but have a personal venom that makes them differently dangerous. She's no longer a sidekick but villain in her own right, shaped by loss into something new. Two-Face's power grab in the aftermath reveals the immediate consequences of the Joker's death. The criminal ecosystem of Arkham City immediately shifts, with former Joker gang members seeking new leadership. Two-Face sees opportunity in chaos, using his coin-flip justice to attract followers who crave any kind of order. His rise shows how power vacuums in criminal organizations create violence as new hierarchies establish themselves. The Riddler's final humiliation comes from his own elaborate trap. After forcing Batman to solve hundreds of riddles, he constructs an ultimate challenge that he believes is unsolvable. When Batman succeeds, the Riddler's contraption turns on him, trapping him in his own puzzle. His disbelief and rage at being defeated reveal the fragility of his ego. Without his intellectual superiority, the Riddler has nothing, becoming a broken man trapped by his own cleverness. Catwoman's conclusion depends on player choice. She can escape Arkham City with her stolen goods, or return to save Batman from the Joker. This moral decision reflects her character arc throughout the game, torn between selfishness and heroism. Her choice to save Batman shows growth and the possibility of redemption, themes that run throughout the game's narrative. The branching nature of Catwoman's ending adds replay value while exploring character development. If she leaves Batman to die, she gets her treasure but loses something more valuable, the chance to be more than a thief. If she saves Batman, she loses material wealth but gains self-respect and Batman's trust. This choice isn't presented as obviously right or wrong, respecting player agency while showing how decisions define character. The game includes numerous Easter eggs and references for attentive players. The spirit of Amadeus Arkham continues from the first game, with hidden messages revealing the Asylum founder's descent into madness. Scarecrow's hidden boat contains clues about his survival and plans for revenge. A positive pregnancy test in Harley's room hints at future storylines. These details reward exploration and multiple playthroughs. Scarecrow's presence haunts Arkham City, despite his physical absence. His fear toxin has influenced the design of certain Riddler challenges. His mask appears in the Joker's office, suggesting connections between villains. Most intriguingly, a bow at the dock contains evidence of Scarecrow's survival and evolution, with containers of new fear toxin and plans for citywide deployment. These hints build anticipation for future confrontations, while showing how past events influence present dangers. The abandoned subway system beneath Arkham City holds secrets from Gotham's past. Wonder City's architecture shows Egyptian and Middle Eastern influences, reflecting Ra's al Ghul's involvement in Gotham's history. The mechanical guardians that protect these areas use technology that seems ancient yet advanced, suggesting the League of Assassins has influenced human development for centuries. The deeper levels beneath Arkham City reveal layers of history literally built upon each other. Modern Gotham sits atop Victorian architecture, which rests on Wonder City's ancient foundations. Each era brought its own corruption and secrets, suggesting Gotham's problems are literally foundational. Batman isn't just fighting current crime, but the accumulated evil of centuries, embedded in the very ground beneath the city. Black Mask's murder, revealed through investigation, shows the Joker's ruthless planning. He killed and replaced Black Mask early in Arkham City's operation, using the crime lord's resources while maintaining his own operations. This deception shows the Joker's strategic thinking beyond his apparent madness. Even other villains underestimated him, seeing chaos where there was actually careful calculation. The revelation about Black Mask explains various inconsistencies noticed throughout the game. Why Black Mask's gang seemed disorganized, why his tactics didn't match his usual methods, why he was nowhere to be found despite supposedly controlling territory. The Joker played a character within a character, fooling everyone including the player. This meta-level deception shows the game's respect for attentive players who notice something's wrong before the reveal. The identity theft subplot involving Bruce Wayne shows another layer of strange conspiracy. Thomas Elliot, Bruce's childhood friend, has been surgically altering his face to look like Bruce, planning to steal his identity and fortune. This personal attack on Bruce Wayne parallels the larger assault on Batman, showing how Arkham City threatens both sides of protagonist's identity. Hush's presence in Arkham City raises questions about the connection between various villains. His surgical skills were used by the Joker to create the Black Mass deception. His knowledge of Bruce Wayne provided Strange with psychological ammunition. His identity theft plan required inside knowledge of Wayne Enterprises' security. These connections suggest a web of conspiracy beyond individual villain plans, possibly coordinated by someone yet unrevealed. Azrael's appearances throughout Arkham City hint at future threats. The warrior speaks in prophecies about Gotham burning, and a dark knight rising from the ashes. His religious order has been watching Batman, seeing him as part of an ancient prophecy about Gotham's fate. These cryptic warnings foreshadow events beyond Arkham City, suggesting Batman's greatest challenges lie ahead. The Order of St. Dumas, which Azrael represents, adds religious mythology to Arkham City's narrative. They believe Gotham is cursed ground that must be purified through fire. Their prophecies speak of a demon bat who will either save or damn the city. Azrael's tests of Batman determine whether he's worthy of salvation or destruction. This religious extremism provides another ideological threat beyond criminal chaos or authoritarian order. The game's combat challenge rooms tell many stories through their settings and objectives. The Joker's carnival features deadly amusement park rides turned into weapons. Penguin's arenas include his museum and the Iceberg Lounge, filled with traps and environmental hazards. These challenges exist outside the main narrative but expand the world building, showing how different villains would test Batman's abilities. Challenge rooms reveal character through environment design. The Joker's challenges are chaotic and unpredictable, with random modifiers that change rules mid-fight. Penguin's challenges are brutal and straightforward, emphasizing overwhelming force. Riddler's challenges are puzzles disguised as combat, requiring specific solutions rather than general skill. These designs show how each villain's personality influences their approach to defeating Batman. The animated character performances bring unprecedented emotion to the story. Subtle facial expressions convey what dialogue doesn't explicitly state. Batman's exhaustion becomes visible as the night progresses, his movement slightly slower, his breathing heavier. The Joker's physical deterioration is disturbingly realistic, from his pallid skin to his labored movements. These details create empathy even for villains, humanizing characters who could easily be one-dimensional. The motion capture technology used for Arkham City represented a significant advance in gaming animation. Actors performed scenes together, creating natural interactions and reactions. Facial capture recorded subtle expressions that convey emotion without words. Body language tells stories parallel to dialogue, sometimes contradicting spoken words to show deception or hidden feelings. This technology makes characters feel like real people rather than animated puppets. The soundtrack by Nick Arundel and Ron Fish creates distinct musical identities for each area and character. The main theme combines heroic orchestral elements with darker electronic undertones, reflecting Batman's dual nature. Combat music dynamically responds to the action, building intensity as fights escalate. The quieter exploration themes create atmosphere without overwhelming the experience, letting environmental sounds tell their own story. The musical score adapts to player actions in subtle ways. Successful combos trigger musical stings that reinforce the rhythm of combat. Predator sequences use minimalist soundscapes that build tension without revealing Batman's position. Boss battles have unique themes that evolve through fight phases, telling the story of the conflict through music. This dynamic scoring makes players feel like they're conducting an orchestra through their gameplay. Arkham City's influence on superhero games cannot be overstated. It proved that comic book adaptations could tell mature, complex stories while maintaining exciting gameplay. The game respects its source material while taking creative liberties that enhance rather than diminish the Batman mythology. It treats players as intelligent participants in the narrative rather than passive observers. The game's legacy extends beyond its immediate sequels. It established templates for open-world superhero games that continue to influence design. Its combat system has been copied and refined by countless action games. Most importantly, it showed that superhero games could be art, exploring complex themes through interactive storytelling. Arkham City elevated the entire medium, proving games can handle sophisticated narratives. The game asks fundamental questions about justice and vengeance. Is Batman's no-killing rule a strength or weakness when facing enemies who will never stop murdering? Does imprisoning supervillains together create more problems than it solves? Can someone like the Joker or Ra's al Ghul ever be redeemed, or are some people beyond salvation? These philosophical questions don't have easy answers, respecting the complexity of moral decisions in extreme situations. The relationship dynamics between characters reveal deeper themes about identity and purpose. Batman and the Joker need each other to define themselves, locked in a cycle that only death could break. Catwoman struggles between her criminal nature and heroic impulses. Mr. Freeze's love for Nora drives him to villainy he would never otherwise consider. These relationships show how people shape and are shaped by those around them. Technical achievements in Arkham City push gaming forward. The seamless open world allows uninterrupted exploration from the streets to the rooftops to building interiors. The physics engine makes Batman's cape feel like real fabric, responding to wind and movement. The lighting system creates mood through shadows and illumination, making darkness as important as light in establishing atmosphere. The game's technical excellence serves narrative purposes. Seamless transitions maintain immersion during story moments. Physics makes combat feel impactful and gliding feel liberating. Lighting guides players while creating atmosphere. These technical elements work together to create a cohesive experience where gameplay and story reinforce each other rather than competing for attention. The detective mode vision, while useful for gameplay, also represents Batman's analytical mind. He sees the world differently than others, constantly processing information and identifying threats. This mechanic makes players think like Batman, observing details others might miss. The augmented reality training programs show Batman's constant self-improvement, always preparing for new challenges. Enemy variety forces tactical adaptation throughout the game. Standard thugs become more dangerous with weapons and armor. Ninjas require different timing for counters. Titans demand environmental strategies. Each faction has unique fighting styles reflecting their leader's personality. The Joker's gang is chaotic and unpredictable. Penguin's forces use military equipment. Two-Face's crew operates like organized crime. These differences make each encounter feel fresh despite similar core mechanics. The economy of Arkham City reflects the prison's brutal reality. Riddler trophies unlock combat upgrades, showing how knowledge translates to power. Political prisoners huddle in safe zones, afraid to venture into gang territories. The Bowery's poverty contrasts with the Penguin's hoarded wealth in the museum. Even in prison, social hierarchies and economic disparities persist, perhaps even intensified by the lawless environment. The medical volunteers trapped in Arkham City represent innocent victims caught in larger conflicts. These doctors and nurses came to help, but became pawns in the Riddler's games or victims of random violence. Their presence raises questions about collective punishment and whether society has a right to abandon anyone, even criminals, to such conditions. Batman's efforts to save them show his commitment to protecting all innocent life. The game's weather tells its own story about the harsh conditions within Arkham City. The constant winter cold adds misery to imprisonment. Inmates huddle around burning barrels for warmth, showing basic human needs persist even among supervillains. The snow covers evidence of crimes while creating new dangers from ice and poor visibility. This hostile environment becomes another enemy Batman must overcome. Environmental storytelling extends to small details most players miss. Calendars mark days inmates have been imprisoned. Graffiti tells stories of gang wars and lost hope. Personal belongings scattered in abandoned buildings hint at lives disrupted by Arkham City's creation. These details create empathy for the unnamed prisoners whose stories parallel the main narrative. The game respects player intelligence through minimal hand-holding. Riddles require genuine thought rather than following waypoints. Combat challenges demand mastery of mechanics rather than button mashing. The story trusts players to understand subtext and symbolism without excessive explanation. This respect creates a more engaging experience that rewards attention and skill. The Batcave's absence emphasizes Batman's isolation in Arkham City. Without Alfred's support or his technological resources, Batman must rely on field improvisation and limited supplies delivered by airdrop. This vulnerability makes his achievements more impressive, showing the man behind the technology. The makeshift Batcave in the courthouse shows Batman's adaptability, but also his need for a base of operations. Oracle's remote assistance provides Batman's only consistent ally throughout the night. Barbara Gordon's voice offers tactical support and emotional grounding when the poison affects Batman's judgment. Her hacking abilities open doors and reveal information Batman couldn't access alone. Their relationship shows trust and mutual respect built through years of partnership. Barbara Gordon's role as Oracle showcases a different kind of heroism. Paralyzed by the Joker, she found new ways to fight crime through information and technology. Her guidance helps Batman navigate both physical and digital threats. Her concern for Batman goes beyond professional partnership to genuine care for a friend facing death. Oracle proves that physical ability doesn't define a hero. Alfred's limited appearances carry emotional weight. His concern for Bruce transcends a mission, reminding players that Batman is someone's surrogate son. Alfred's dry humor provides levity in dark moments, while his wisdom offers perspective on the moral dilemmas Batman faces. His absence from most of the game makes his presence more meaningful when it occurs. The relationship between Alfred and Bruce Wayne, shown through their communications, reveals deep mutual affection, usually hidden beneath professional formality. Alfred's voice cracks with emotion when Batman's condition worsens. Batman drops his stoic facade when speaking privately with Alfred. These moments humanize both characters, showing the family bond beneath the mission. Robin's brief appearance shows Batman's protective nature toward his allies. Tim Drake wants to help, but Batman refuses to risk Robin's life in Arkham City. This decision reflects both Batman's care for Tim and his tendency toward isolation when facing personal danger. The dynamic between mentor and student reveals Batman's fear of losing another partner after Jason Todd's death. Tim Drake's characterization in Arkham City shows a mature, capable Robin frustrated by Batman's overprotection. He's proven himself repeatedly, but Batman still sees him as too young for Arkham City's dangers. This tension reflects real parent-child dynamics, with the mentor unable to accept the student has grown beyond needing protection. Robin's brief appearance hints at his potential, while showing Batman's limitations as a mentor. The game explores different types of evil through its villain roster. The Joker represents chaos and nihilism. Ra's embodies extremism justified by ideology. Strange shows how intelligence without empathy becomes monstrous. Penguin demonstrates greed and cruelty born from insecurity. Two-Face illustrates how trauma can fracture identity. Each villain reflects a different aspect of human darkness. The variety of villainy in Arkham City suggests crime isn't monolithic, but stems from different sources. Some criminals choose evil for profit or power. Others are driven by mental illness or trauma. Some believe they're heroes using extreme methods. This diversity challenges simplistic good versus evil narratives, showing crime as a complex social problem rather than individual moral failure. Redemption remains possible even in Arkham City's bleakest moments. Catwoman chooses heroism over profit. Mr. Freeze helps Batman despite their conflict. Even some random inmates show humanity, warning Batman about ambushes or thanking him for saving them. These moments of grace suggest that even in the worst circumstances, people can choose to be better. The game's pacing creates a sense of escalating urgency. Early sections allow exploration and side missions. As the poison progresses and Protocol 10 approaches, the narrative tightens, forcing difficult choices about which threats to address. This structure mirrors Batman's deteriorating condition and the mounting pressure of multiple crises converging. The night's timeline adds weight to Batman's achievements. Everything happens in roughly 12 hours, from Bruce Wayne's capture to carrying out the Joker's body. In this compressed time frame, Batman stops a genocide, defeats multiple supervillains, saves countless lives, and solves hundreds of puzzles. This density of events creates exhaustion that players feel alongside Batman. Combat becomes a form of expression as players master the system. Skilled players create balletic sequences of strikes, counters, and evasions that flow seamlessly together. The scoring system encourages variety and style over simple efficiency. Perfect free-flow combat feels like channeling Batman's expertise, making violence paradoxically beautiful. The artistry possible in Arkham City's combat system elevates it beyond simple fighting. Players develop personal styles, some preferring gadget-heavy approaches, while others focus on pure martial arts. The system rewards creativity and experimentation. High-level play resembles choreographed dance, with Batman moving through enemies with impossible grace. This expressiveness makes combat remain engaging even after dozens of hours. The Predator sections explore the psychology of fear. Batman isn't just defeating enemies. He's breaking their will to fight. Leaving one thug suspended from a gargoyle makes others nervous. Using smoke and shadows creates paranoia. The systematic elimination of armed guards shows Batman as an apex predator in his urban hunting ground. Fear as a weapon distinguishes Batman from other heroes who rely on strength or powers. He turns criminals' aggression into terror, their numbers into liability. The Predator sections make players think about psychological warfare, using fear tactically rather than lethally. This approach shows Batman's intelligence in recognizing that defeated enemies spread fear more effectively than dead ones. Boss battles break conventional gaming patterns. Ra's fight occurs across multiple planes of reality. Freeze requires constant adaptation. Solomon Grundy involves environmental puzzle solving. Mr. Hammer operates like a walking tank. These encounters demand different skills and strategies, preventing the combat from becoming repetitive. Each boss battle tells a story about the villain being fought. Ra's battle reflects his mythological status and reality-warping powers. Freeze's fight shows his scientific genius and tactical intelligence. Grundy represents mindless, unstoppable force. These encounters aren't just tests of skill, but narrative experiences that reveal character through gameplay. The game questions whether Arkham City represents justice or revenge. Is imprisoning criminals together, allowing them to destroy each other while society watches? Does Strange's plan differ fundamentally from what Gotham secretly desires? The permanent elimination of its criminal element. These uncomfortable questions challenge players to examine their own beliefs about punishment and rehabilitation. Arkham City as a concept forces examination of how society deals with crime. The prison represents abandonment disguised as containment. Society washing its hands of responsibility. By placing criminals together without rehabilitation or hope of release, Arkham City ensures they become worse rather than better. The prison creates the very monsters it claims to contain, justify its own existence through the violence it generates. Batman's no-killing rule faces its greatest test in Arkham City. Surrounded by murderers who will kill again if freed, wouldn't eliminating them save more lives? The game presents situations where killing seems justified, even merciful, yet Batman maintains his principle. This absolute morality might seem naive, but it's what separates him from the villains he fights. The practical consequences of Batman's no-killing rule play out throughout the game. The Joker has killed thousands because Batman repeatedly captured rather than killed him. Ra's will likely return despite his apparent death. Every villain Batman defeats, but doesn't kill, remains a future threat. Yet Batman understands that crossing that line would fundamentally change who he is. Once killing becomes acceptable, where does it stop? Who decides who deserves death? These questions have no easy answers, which is why Batman's rule remains absolute despite its costs. The corrupting influence of power appears throughout the narrative. Strange begins as a psychiatrist genuinely trying to help patients, but becomes a would-be dictator planning mass murder. The Tiger Guard start as security, but become an occupying army. Even Batman risks crossing lines as the poison affects his judgment, showing how easily good intentions can lead to dark actions. The transformation of Tiger Guards from protectors to executioners shows how institutional violence corrupts individuals. Their radio chatter reveals increasing dehumanization of inmates, referring to them as animals and targets rather than people. They compete for kill counts during Protocol 10, having completely abandoned any pretense of law enforcement. These aren't inherently evil people, but ordinary individuals corrupted by power and authority. The game's ending resonates because it breaks gaming conventions. The villain doesn't escape for a sequel. The Joker dies permanently. Batman doesn't get a clean victory. He's traumatized and poisoned despite surviving. The status quo doesn't reset. Arkham City's events fundamentally change Gotham's criminal landscape. This willingness to create lasting consequences gives the story real weight. The permanence of the Joker's death shocked players accustomed to comic book death being temporary. The game commits to this loss, showing genuine consequences rather than cheap resurrection. Batman must face a world without his defining enemy, questioning who he is without the Joker to define himself against. This narrative courage respects the story being told rather than preserving characters for marketing purposes. Post-credit sequences hint at unresolved threads. Harley sings a lullaby to herself, suggesting maternal instincts or madness. Positive pregnancy tests imply the Joker's legacy might continue. Calendar Man's empty cell suggests he escaped during Protocol 10. These seeds plant questions that extend beyond the game's narrative boundaries. The ambiguity of Harley's pregnancy creates unsettling possibilities. A child of Joker and Harley would inherit a legacy of chaos and violence. Would such a child be doomed by genetics, or could they choose a different path? The game leaves these questions unanswered, creating anxiety about future threats while respecting narrative uncertainty. Not everything needs resolution. Some fears are more powerful as possibilities. The game's environmental design rewards vertical exploration. Hidden rooms exist above and below the main paths. Riddler trophies require creative use of gadgets and movement abilities. Secret areas contain audio logs and character trophies that expand the lore. This three-dimensional design makes Arkham City feel larger than its actual size. Verticality in Arkham City serves narrative and gameplay purposes. Height equals power, explaining why Batman dominates from rooftops while desperate inmates scramble at street level. Underground areas hide secrets and shame, from Wonder City's ancient mysteries to Riddler's torture chambers. The vertical stratification creates a literal hierarchy where position determines survival chances. The historical layers of Arkham City tell Gotham's story. Modern buildings sit atop Victorian foundations, which rest on Wonder City's ancient architecture. Each era brought its own corruption and secrets, suggesting Gotham's problems run deeper than current crime. Batman fights symptoms of a disease that has infected the city for generations. The archaeological aspect of exploring Arkham City reveals how past influences present. Wonder City's advanced technology suggests ancient civilizations exceeded modern achievements. Victorian architecture shows Gotham's industrial rise and fall. Modern additions reveal hasty, poorly planned growth. These layers create a palimpsest where history bleeds through into current events. The League of Assassins' involvement connects Arkham City to global conspiracies. Ra's organization has influenced world events for centuries, seeing Gotham as a crucial battleground between order and chaos. Their presence elevates the stakes beyond one city's crime problem to questions about human nature and civilization's future. Ra's al Ghul's immortality provides perspective on human progress or lack thereof. He's watched civilizations rise and fall, seeing patterns repeat across centuries. His cynicism about humanity comes from experience, having witnessed the same failures repeated generation after generation. This long view makes his extremism understandable, if not acceptable. Perhaps someone who has seen centuries of human cruelty would conclude elimination is the only solution. Technology in Arkham City ranges from primitive to futuristic. Inmates use improvised weapons, while Tiger Guards carry military-grade equipment. Batman's gadgets represent cutting-edge Wayne Enterprises technology. The Lazarus Pit embodies ancient mysticism that science can't explain. This technological diversity creates varied gameplay and reflects a clash between old and new world philosophies. The contrast between technologies tells stories about their users. Inmates' improvised weapons show desperation and creativity. Tiger's military equipment reveals institutional power. Batman's gadgets demonstrate resources and preparation. Ancient League technology suggests lost knowledge. These tools define their users as much as their users define them. The game examines how isolation affects psychology. Inmates cut off from normal society become more extreme versions of themselves. Political prisoners struggle to maintain humanity in brutal conditions. Even Batman, isolated in the prison, begins showing signs of psychological strain beyond the poison's effects. Human connection becomes precious when surrounded by enemies. Isolation in Arkham City goes beyond physical separation. Inmates are isolated from hope, from future, from identity beyond criminality. This psychological isolation proves more damaging than physical confinement. People need purpose and connection to maintain sanity. Arkham City denies both, creating conditions that guarantee psychological breakdown. Religion and mythology permeate Arkham City's narrative. The League of Assassins follows quasi-religious beliefs about purification through destruction. Solomon Grundy represents undead folklore. Azrael speaks of prophecies and divine judgment. Calendar Man ritualizes his murders around holidays. These elements add mythic weight to what could be a simple crime story. The religious element in Arkham City questions whether justice has divine or human origins. Does Batman serve a higher purpose or just his own psychological needs? Is crime a spiritual failing or social problem? Can redemption come from within or must it be granted from above? These theological questions add depth to the superhero narrative. The economic reality of running Arkham City raises questions never fully answered. Who profits from the prison's existence? How do supplies enter while preventing weapon smuggling? What happens to inmates' assets while they're imprisoned? These practical concerns ground the fantastic elements in real-world considerations. The economics of Arkham City reveal corruption extending beyond Strange and Roz. Construction companies profited from building the walls. Security firms get contract for Tiger operations. Black market smugglers supply gangs with weapons. The prison creates an economy of exploitation where suffering generates profit. This systematic corruption suggests Arkham City is symptom rather than cause of Gotham's disease. The game's sound design creates immersion through ambient details. Distant gunfire suggests ongoing turf wars. Inmates' conversations reveal their fears and plans. Environmental sounds like wind and creaking metal establish atmosphere. The audio landscape makes Arkham City feel alive, even in quiet moments between story beats. Sound in Arkham City tells stories ears notice, but conscious mind might miss. The frequency of gunfire indicates territory control. Screams reveal violence happening off-screen. Mechanical sounds suggest infrastructure failing. These audio cues create anxiety and urgency, making players feel surrounded by danger even in seemingly safe moments. Character animations convey personality beyond dialogue. The Joker's exaggerated gestures mask his physical weakness. Penguin's waddle shows his aristocratic pretensions and physical limitations. Two-Face's constant coin flipping reveals obsessive compulsion. These visual storytelling elements communicate character without exposition. Micro-expressions captured through advanced animation technology reveal hidden emotions. Batman's jaw clenches when he's angry, but trying to maintain control. The Joker's smile falters for microseconds when discussing death. Strange's eye twitches when his plans face obstacles. These tiny details reward careful observation, showing that characters have inner lives beyond their words. The upgrade system reflects Batman's adaptation to Arkham City's challenges. New gadgets address specific threats encountered. Combat moves counter enemy tactics. Armor upgrades show accumulated damage from a night's battles. This progression feels organic rather than arbitrary, tied to narrative developments. The way Batman acquires upgrades tells its own story. Some come from Wayne Enterprise supply drops, showing Alfred's remote support. Others are improvised from salvage equipment, demonstrating Batman's resourcefulness. Certain upgrades require defeating specific enemies to learn their techniques. This variety makes character progression feel earned rather than automatic. Collectibles serve narrative purposes beyond completion rewards. Riddler trophies contain audio logs revealing character backstories. Catwoman trophies show her previous heists in the city. Demon seals mark Ra's influence throughout history. These items reward exploration with lore rather than just achievement points. The stories told through collectibles create a broader narrative beyond the main plot. Riddler's audio logs reveal his deteriorating mental state and growing obsession. Tiger communications show increasing corruption and brutality. Patient interviews reveal strange manipulation techniques. These fragments create a mosaic showing Arkham City's full picture. The game's humor provides relief without undermining tone. The Joker's dark comedy highlights his madness. Riddler's frustrated reactions to Batman solving his puzzles show his ego crumbling. Random thug conversations include absurd complaints about their situation. These moments prevent the darkness from becoming oppressive. Humor in Arkham City serves important psychological functions. It provides emotional release from constant tension. It humanizes characters by showing their retained personality despite circumstances. It creates cognitive dissonance that makes horror more impactful by contrast. The game understands that unrelenting darkness becomes numbing. Variation maintains emotional engagement. Moral ambiguity pervades character motivations. Catwoman steals but helps innocence. Freeze commits crimes for love. Even Strange believes he's saving Gotham through extreme measures. Few characters are purely good or evil, reflecting real-world complexity where actions matter more than intentions. The moral complexity of Arkham City's characters challenges players' assumptions. Criminals show nobility while authorities commit atrocities. Heroes make compromises while villains show principles. These contradictions reflect real human complexity rather than simple moral categories. The game respects its audience enough to present complicated characters requiring thought rather than simple judgment. The game respects Batman's detective identity equally with his combat skills. Crime scene reconstruction, evidence analysis, and pattern recognition feature prominently. Following leads requires logical thinking rather than following objective markers. These investigation sections make players feel like detectives solving mysteries. Detective work in Arkham City goes beyond finding clues to understanding psychology. Batman must think like criminals to predict their actions. He analyzes not just physical evidence, but behavioral patterns. Investigation becomes psychological profiling, understanding not just what happened, but why. This psychological detective work distinguishes Batman from heroes who rely solely on physical prowess. The fragility of alliances in Arkham City reflects prison politics. Temporary partnerships form from necessity but dissolve when interests diverge. Trust becomes a luxury no one can afford. Even Batman's alliance with Catwoman remains tentative, built on mutual benefit rather than true partnership. The constant betrayals in Arkham City teach Batman and players that trust must be earned repeatedly. Yesterday's ally becomes today's enemy when circumstances change. Even seemingly stable alliances like Strange and Ra's contain seeds of betrayal. This instability creates tension in every interaction, never knowing when partnership becomes conflict. Physical space tells stories about power dynamics. Territory size indicates gang strength. Building height provides tactical advantage. Underground areas hide secrets from surface observation. Geographic control equals survival advantage, making every captured building strategically important. The geography of Arkham City becomes character itself, shaping events through its layout. Choke points create killing fields that determine territory boundaries. Open spaces become no man's lands too dangerous to cross. Vertical routes provide alternatives to deadly street-level passages. Understanding and exploiting geography becomes essential for survival. Wonder City's ruins beneath Arkham City contain mechanical guardians that still function after centuries. These constructs use technology that seems impossible for their era, suggesting the League of Assassins possessed advanced knowledge lost to history. The designs blend Arabian and Egyptian aesthetics with clockwork engineering, creating enemies unlike anything else in the game. Fighting them requires different tactics than human opponents, as they feel no fear and follow program patterns with mechanical precision. The mechanical guardians raise questions about technology and progress. If ancient civilizations had such advanced knowledge, what caused its loss? Did the League of Assassins suppress technology to maintain power? Are we rediscovering rather than inventing? These questions challenge assumptions about linear progress, suggesting knowledge can be lost as easily as gained. The Iceberg Lounge, before becoming Penguin's base, served as Gotham's most exclusive nightclub. Now its frozen waters hold a massive shark that Penguin feeds his enemies to, turning luxury into horror. The contrast between the venue's elegant past and brutal present symbolizes Arkham City's corruption of everything it touches. Even beauty becomes weaponized in this environment. Penguin's shark, Tiny, represents excess and cruelty disguised as sophistication. Keeping a live shark requires enormous resources in a prison where people lack basic necessities. feeding enemies to combines execution with entertainment, turning death into spectacle. The shark becomes symbol of Penguin's pretensions, an exotic pet that proves his power while revealing his brutality. Batman's hallucinations from the Joker's poison become increasingly disturbing as the night progresses. He sees the Joker everywhere, hears his laughter when alone, questions whether his perceptions are real. These moments force players to doubt their own observations, creating psychological horror within an action game. The line between Batman and Joker blurs, suggesting they're more similar than either would admit. The hallucinations reveal Batman's deepest fears about himself. He sees himself becoming the Joker, laughing at violence and chaos. These visions suggest that Batman's rigid self-control exists because he knows how easily he could become what he fights. The thin line between hero and villain becomes transparent, showing that circumstances and choices rather than inherent nature determine which side someone stands on. The game subtly shows how Batman's presence changes criminal behavior. Thugs develop counter-strategies for his tactics, wearing armor that resists certain attacks, using thermal goggles to spot him in darkness. This arms race between Batman and criminals shows realistic adaptation rather than static enemy behavior. Crime evolves in response to justice, creating an endless cycle of escalation. Criminal adaptation to Batman reveals unintended consequences of his methods. By not killing, he creates repeat offenders who learn from each encounter. His predictable tactics allow countermeasures. His presence escalates arms races as criminals acquire military equipment to compete. The game questions whether Batman's methods create more sophisticated crime rather than reducing it. Arkham City's formation displaced thousands of Gotham citizens from their homes. The abandoned apartments contain remnants of interrupted lives, from family photos to children's toys. These details humanize the crisis beyond costumed heroes and villains, showing ordinary people affected by extraordinary events. The personal cost of creating the prison extends far beyond its walls. The displaced residents of what became Arkham City represent forgotten victims. Their stories appear only in abandoned possessions and graffiti protests. They receive no compensation, no relocation assistance, just eviction notices and deadlines. Their suffering enabled Arkham City's creation, but goes unacknowledged. The game implies Gotham considered these people expendable, revealing societal attitudes toward the poor. The game's weather system affects gameplay beyond aesthetics. Ice makes surfaces slippery, affecting combat positioning. Snow obscures vision during predator sections. Cold forces inmates to cluster around heat sources, creating tactical opportunities. These environmental factors add strategic depth to encounters, making players consider conditions beyond enemy placement. Weather as gameplay mechanic reinforces narrative themes. The cold represents Gotham's coldness towards criminals. Snow covering evidence suggests how easily truth disappears. Ice creating hazards shows how environment itself becomes hostile. Weather isn't just atmosphere, but another enemy Batman faces, making survival itself an achievement. Riddler's obsession with proving intellectual superiority drives him to increasingly elaborate death traps. Each challenge room tells a story about his deteriorating mental state, from smug confidence to frustrated rage as Batman solves his puzzles. His inability to accept that someone might be smarter than him reveals deep insecurity masked by narcissism. The trophies themselves become metaphors for knowledge as power. The escalation of Riddler's challenges reveals his psychological breakdown. Early riddles are clever, but fair. Later challenges become impossible without specific knowledge, showing his desperation. Death traps shift from testing intelligence to punishing failure. His recorded messages become increasingly unhinged, revealing a man whose entire identity depends on being smartest. Batman's success doesn't just defeat Riddler physically, but destroys his self-concept. The game questions whether Batman creates the villains he fights. Would Joker exist without Batman to define himself against? Does Batman's presence escalate criminal behavior from simple crime to theatrical supervillainy? These philosophical questions challenge the basic superhero narrative of unambiguous good fighting clear evil. The symbiotic relationship between Batman and his rogues gallery suggests they need each other. Villains become more extreme to challenge Batman. Batman develops new methods to counter escalating threats. This cycle creates spectacle that transcends normal crime and law enforcement. The game asks whether Gotham would be better without any of them, hero and villains alike. Arkham City exists in legal gray zones that the game never fully resolves. Is it a prison or a concentration camp? Do human rights apply within its walls? Can crimes committed inside be prosecuted when the entire space exists outside normal law? These unanswered questions reflect real-world debates about justice and security. The legal status of Arkham City reveals how easily rights disappear during crisis. Constitutional protections don't apply because it's designated a special administrative zone. International law doesn't intervene because it's a domestic issue. Inmates have no recourse because courts refuse jurisdiction. This legal void shows how authority can create spaces where law itself doesn't exist. The religious imagery surrounding Ra's al Ghul draws from multiple traditions. His title, Head of the Demon, has Arabic origins. The Lazarus pits reference biblical resurrection. His followers' devotion resembles cult worship. This syncretic mythology creates a villain who transcends cultural boundaries, representing universal themes of death and rebirth. Raz represents a particular kind of religious extremism that uses divine mandate to justify atrocity. He believes he serves higher purpose that excuses mass murder. His immortality reinforces his sense of divine appointment. His followers' faith makes them willing to die for his vision. This religious fanaticism proves more dangerous than simple criminality because it provides moral justification for any action. Batman's relationship with death evolves throughout the game. He begins certain of his no-killing principle, but faces situations that test this resolve. Watching the Joker die, even for his own actions, affects Batman profoundly. The game asks whether allowing death through inaction differs morally from actively killing, a question without easy answers. Death in Arkham City carries different meaning than typical video game death. When enemies fall, they're knocked unconscious, not killed, maintaining Batman's code. But the game shows bodies that don't get up, victims of other villains' brutality. This contrast between Batman's non-lethal methods and others' killing emphasizes his moral stance. Death becomes meaningful precisely because Batman refuses to cause it. The supporting cast of political prisoners shows how ordinary people survive extraordinary circumstances. Some maintain dignity and help others. Others turn predatory, becoming worse than the criminals they're imprisoned with. These varied responses to crisis reveal character in ways normal life never would, showing how extreme situations strip away pretense. Political prisoners in Arkham City face unique challenges. Unlike criminals who chose their path, they're innocent victims. They lack criminal skills for survival. They become prey for predators. Yet some organize mutual aid, proving humanity survives even here. Their presence makes Arkham City's evil undeniable. This isn't just criminal containment, but collective punishment. Voice modulation technology plays a key role in the narrative. Batman uses it to intimidate and disguise his identity. Hugo Strange employs it to manipulate inmates through psychological warfare. The Joker uses voice mimicry to create confusion. These tools show how identity itself becomes fluid and weaponizable in Arkham City. The ability to change voices reflects larger themes about identity. In Arkham City, everyone wears masks, literal or metaphorical. True identity becomes uncertain when anyone could be anyone. Trust becomes impossible when voices lie. This technological deception adds to the paranoia permeating the prison. The game's verticality creates distinct gameplay zones. Street level belongs to gang warfare and desperate inmates. Rooftops provide Batman's domain for movement and observation. Underground areas hide secrets and dangers. This stratification mirrors social hierarchies, with power literally translating to higher ground. Vertical movement in Arkham City represents freedom and confinement. While inmates are trapped horizontally by walls, Batman moves vertically without restriction. This three-dimensional freedom makes him seem supernatural to those confined to two dimensions. Height becomes escape, even if temporary, from the prison's oppressive reality. Medical themes run throughout the narrative. Batman's poisoning drives the main plot. Freeze seeks a cure for his wife. Strange perverts psychiatry into weapon. The absence of proper medical care in Arkham City shows how denying health care becomes a form of torture. These elements ground superhero action in bodily vulnerability. The denial of medical care in Arkham City constitutes a war crime. Injured inmates die from treatable wounds. Disease spreads unchecked. Mental illness goes untreated, worsening into psychosis. This medical neglect isn't oversight but policy, part of Strange's plan to eliminate inmates through natural causes before Protocol 10. Healthcare becomes another weapon against the imprisoned. The game explores different forms of intelligence. Batman represents analytical and tactical thinking. Riddler embodies puzzle-solving and lateral thinking. Strange shows psychological manipulation. Joker demonstrates chaotic creativity. These varied intellectual approaches create conflicts that can't be resolved through physical force alone. Intelligence in Arkham City determines survival more than strength. Batman defeats stronger opponents through strategy. Riddler controls territory through puzzles rather than violence. Strange rules through psychological manipulation. The game shows that in complex situations, thinking beats fighting. This emphasis on intelligence over force distinguishes Batman from heroes who rely on physical power. Time pressure adds urgency, without artificial countdown timers. Batman's poisoning provides a biological clock. Protocol 10 creates an event horizon. Side missions have implied deadlines through victim endangerment. This organic urgency feels more natural than arbitrary time limits, respecting player agency while maintaining tension. The passage of time in Arkham City feels real through accumulated consequence. Batman's condition worsens visibly. The city degrades as violence escalates. Bodies accumulate in the streets. Dawn approaches but never arrives, creating perpetual night that mirrors narrative darkness. Time becomes enemy as relentless as any villain. The contrast between public and private personas appears throughout the game. Bruce Wayne must maintain his playboy image, even while imprisoned. Strange hides his madness behind professional authority. Two-Face literally embodies dual identity. These masks and personas question which version of a person is real. The mask's characters will reveal more than they hide. Batman's cowl shows his need to become something more than human. Joker's makeup externalizes internal chaos. Strange glasses and professional demeanor mask sadistic impulses. These disguises don't hide identity but express it, showing inner truth through external symbolism. The game's architecture reflects Gotham's history of corruption and renewal. Art Deco facades hide criminal enterprises. Modern structures sit on rotten foundations. Beautiful surfaces conceal ugly truths. This architectural metaphor extends to characters who present one face while hiding another nature. Architecture in Arkham City tells time through style. Art Deco represents Gotham's optimistic past. Gothic Revival shows religious influence. Brutalist additions reveal authoritarian present. Each architectural period brought its own corruption, layering sin upon sin. Buildings become historical documents recording Gotham's moral decline. Economic inequality within Arkham City creates sub-hierarchies among prisoners. Those with resources like Penguin live relatively well. Common criminals scramble for basic necessities. Political prisoners have nothing but what others allow them. This economic stratification shows how inequality persists even when everyone is theoretically imprisoned equally. The economy of violence in Arkham City mirrors capitalism's extremes. Those with power accumulate more. The powerless become resources to exploit. Middle tiers struggle to survive while serving those above. This economic brutality shows how criminal systems mirror legitimate ones, just without pretense of fairness or law. The absence of daylight throughout the game creates perpetual night that mirrors the narrative's darkness. Players never see the sun, existing in eternal winter darkness that becomes oppressive. This choice reinforces themes of hopelessness and isolation while creating consistent mood. Dawn never comes for Arkham City. Perpetual darkness in Arkham City serves multiple narrative functions. It maintains Batman's advantage as a night operative. It creates consistent atmosphere of dread. It suggests this night exists outside normal time, a purgatorial space where regular rules don't apply. The absent sun becomes metaphor for absent hope. Body language conveys information dialogue doesn't express. Batman's increasing fatigue shows through slower movements. Joker's weakness appears in his posture. Catwoman's confidence manifests in her walk. These physical performances add nonverbal storytelling that enriches character development. The physicality of performance capture technology allows actors to convey emotion through movement. A shoulder slump shows defeat more than words. A straightened spine reveals determination. Hands shake with fear or rage. These bodily expressions create subtext that enriches dialogue, showing what characters feel versus what they say. The game respects its source material while taking creative liberties. Character designs blend comic accuracy with realistic detail. Story beats reference specific comic storylines while creating original narrative. This balance satisfies fans while remaining accessible to newcomers, showing how adaptation can honor source material while creating something new. Arkham City's relationship with Batman comics shows respectful adaptation. It takes core concepts but recontextualizes them for interactive medium. It honors character histories while creating new stories. It maintains tone and theme while exploiting gaming's unique properties. This adaptation succeeds by understanding what makes Batman work across media. Environmental puzzles require understanding the world's logic. Electrical systems follow realistic patterns. Ice formations obey physics. Explosive gel creates predictable destruction. These consistent rules make the world feel real despite fantastic elements, allowing players to solve problems through observation and logic. Puzzle solving in Arkham City teaches players to think like Batman. Solutions require observing environment carefully. Multiple gadgets combine in unexpected ways. Timing and positioning matter as much as tools. These puzzles make players feel clever rather than following instructions, creating satisfaction through discovery. The soundtrack's dynamic shifts respond to player actions. Combat music intensifies with combo multipliers. Predator music reflects enemy awareness states. Exploration themes vary by location and threat level. This responsive audio creates immersion by making the world react to player choices. Musical storytelling in Arkham City operates below conscious awareness. Rising strings signal danger before it appears. Percussion accelerates with heartbeat during tension. Harmony resolves when objectives complete. This subliminal audio communication guides emotion without players necessarily noticing, creating mood through sound. Character death carries weight in Arkham City. The Joker's death isn't reversed or undermined. Talia's sacrifice has permanent consequences. Even minor character deaths affect the story. This commitment to consequences gives actions meaning, preventing the story from feeling inconsequential. The permanence of death in Arkham City distinguishes it from comics where death is temporary. When characters die, they stay dead. This finality adds weight to every confrontation. It makes victory costly and defeat permanent. Death becomes meaningful precisely because it can't be undone. The game explores how trauma shapes identity. Batman's origin in his parents' murder. Freeze's transformation through his wife's illness. Two-Face's scarring creating dual personality. These traumatic origins suggest people are defined by their worst experiences, questioning whether anyone can truly heal. Trauma in Arkham City isn't just backstory, but active force shaping behavior. Characters don't overcome trauma, but incorporate it into identity. Batman channels trauma into mission. Villains let trauma consume them. The game suggests trauma never fully heals, only transforms into something else. Surveillance technology creates the prison's oppressive atmosphere. Tiger cameras monitor everything. Strange watches from Wonder Tower. Batman uses detective vision for observation. This constant watching creates paranoia about who observes whom, reflecting real-world concerns about privacy and security. The surveillance state of Arkham City shows how observation becomes control. Being watched changes behavior even when no one intervenes. The possibility of observation creates self-censorship. Privacy becomes impossible, eroding individual identity into collective prisoner status. This total surveillance makes Arkham City a panopticon where visibility equals vulnerability. The game's loading screens hide technical necessity behind narrative purpose. Radio chatter provides story context. Character profiles offer backstory. Concept art shows the world's evolution. These elements make waiting productive, respecting player time while enriching the experience. Loading screens as narrative space shows respect for player engagement. Every moment serves story or character development. Waiting becomes learning. Technical limitations become opportunities for exposition. This design philosophy treats players' time as valuable, filling necessary pauses with meaningful content. Gotham's class structure appears even within Arkham City's walls. Educated villains like Strange and Ra's pursue ideological goals. Working-class criminals like Penguin seek material wealth. The insane like Joker transcend class through chaos. These divisions show how social structures persist even in apparent anarchy. Class warfare in Arkham City intensifies while society's moderating influences. Rich criminals exploit poor ones more openly. Education becomes survival advantage. Mental illness transcends class boundaries. This exaggerated class system reveals inequalities usually hidden by social niceties. The game examines different concepts of justice. Batman seeks rehabilitation and legal punishment. Ra's demands purification through death. Strange wants control through fear. Joker rejects justice for chaos. These competing philosophies create conflicts deeper than physical confrontation. Justice in Arkham City becomes subjective based on perspective. Inmates see Batman as another predator. Tiger guards believe they serve justice through brutality. Villains justify crimes through personal codes. The game shows justice as contested concept rather than absolute truth, challenging players to define their own understanding. Memory and history feature prominently in environmental storytelling. Audio logs preserve past events. Graffiti records gang history. Architecture shows Gotham's evolution. These layers of history create depth, suggesting every location has stories beyond the current narrative. The archaeology of memory in Arkham City reveals how past shapes present. Old crimes influence current vendettas. Historical injustices justify present violence. Forgotten secrets emerge to threaten stability. The past refuses to stay buried, literally in Wonder City's case, constantly interrupting the present. The game's color palette reinforces mood and meaning. The dominant blues and grays create cold isolation. Neon signs provide harsh contrast. Blood appears shockingly red against snow. These color choices guide emotion and attention, using visual language to communicate tone. Color as communication in Arkham City operates symbolically. Green means Riddler's influence. Red signals immediate danger. Blue suggests Batman's presence. These color codes train players to react to visual cues, creating learned responses that bypass conscious thought. Combat feedback makes every hit feel impactful. Slow motion on critical strikes emphasizes power. Sound effects differentiate attack types. Visual effects show damage accumulation. This feedback makes combat visceral and satisfying, translating controller input into believable action. The physicality of combat in Arkham City tells stories through violence. Each strike has weight and consequence. Bodies react realistically to impact. Environmental interaction makes fights dynamic. This attention to physical detail makes violence feel real rather than abstract, adding moral weight to combat. The game explores addiction through multiple lenses. Bane's history with Venom. Joker's dependence on Titan. Batman's possible addiction to crime fighting. These parallel addictions suggest everyone has dependencies that define and potentially destroy them. Addiction in Arkham City becomes metaphor for larger dependencies. Criminals addicted to crime. Batman addicted to justice. Society addicted to simple solutions like Arkham City. These addictions prevent change, trapping characters in destructive patterns. Breaking addiction will require fundamental identity change that characters can't or won't make. Trust becomes a luxury in Arkham City's paranoid environment. Alliances are temporary and transactional. Betrayal is expected rather than surprising. Even Batman can't fully trust Catwoman or Oracle's information. This erosion of trust reflects how extreme situations destroy social bonds. The impossibility of trust in Arkham City creates isolation beyond physical walls. Characters can't form meaningful connections when betrayal is inevitable. Cooperation becomes calculated risk rather than mutual support. This trust deficit makes everyone weaker, preventing alliances that could challenge the system. The game's mission structure balances freedom with direction. Main missions drive narrative forward. Side missions provide character development. Collectibles reward exploration. This structure respects different play styles while maintaining narrative coherence. Mission design in Arkham City respects player agency while maintaining narrative momentum. Required content tells essential story. Optional content enriches understanding. Hidden content rewards dedication. This layered approach allows players to engage at their chosen depth. Dialogue writing balances exposition with character voice. Information emerges naturally through conversation. Technical details come from appropriate sources. Emotional content matches character psychology. This natural dialogue prevents information dumps while keeping players informed. Conversational storytelling in Arkham City makes exposition feel natural. Characters speak in their own voices rather than serving as information delivery systems. Subtext carries as much meaning as text. Silence sometimes says more than words. This sophisticated dialogue respects audience intelligence. The game explores how power corrupts even good intentions. Strange began trying to help patients. Tiger Guard started as security. Raz originated from noble goals. These falls from grace show how easily righteousness becomes tyranny when unchecked by accountability. The corruption of good intentions in Arkham City shows how extremism develops. Small compromises accumulate into atrocity. Noble goals justify terrible means. Power insulates from consequence. This gradual corruption feels realistic, showing how ordinary people become monsters through incremental steps. Animation priority systems ensure important actions remain visible. Batman's cape physics yield to combat clarity. Environmental effects pause during critical moments. Camera positioning emphasizes story beats. These technical choices prioritize player information over strict realism. Technical compromises for gameplay clarity show design wisdom. Realism serves experience, not vice versa. Player understanding trumps visual fidelity. Function determines form. These priorities create smooth gameplay that never sacrifices playability for appearance. The game questions whether change is possible for criminals. Can Catwoman become truly good? Will Two-Face ever reconcile his personalities? Could Freeze exist without his criminal pursuits? These questions about redemption and identity persist without definitive answers. The possibility of redemption in Arkham City remains perpetually uncertain. Characters show moments of nobility, but return to criminal patterns. Change seems possible but never quite achieved. This ambiguity reflects real complexity of human change, refusing simple answers about rehabilitation. Sound propagation creates realistic audio environments. Voices echo in large spaces. Walls muffle distant sounds. Height affects audio perception. This three-dimensional soundscape makes the world feel physically real, adding to immersion through audio architecture. Acoustic space in Arkham City tells stories through sound behavior. Empty buildings echo with loneliness. Crowded areas buzz with danger. Underground spaces muffle hope. Sound becomes another character describing emotional atmosphere through physical properties. The game's pacing alternates tension and release. Intense combat follows quiet exploration. Story revelations punctuate action sequences. Side content provides breathing room. This rhythm prevents fatigue while maintaining engagement throughout the experience. Pacing as storytelling in Arkham City creates emotional journey. Rising action builds to climaxes. Quiet moments allow processing. Variety prevents monotony. This rhythm makes 12 hours feel both endless and instant, stretching and compressing time through experience. Character silhouettes remain distinct even in darkness. Batman's cape creates recognizable profile. Each villain has unique visual shape. Enemy types are identifiable by outline. This visual clarity ensures gameplay remains readable regardless of lighting conditions. Silhouette design in Arkham City serves both gameplay and narrative. Recognizable shapes allow instant identification in chaos. Distinctive profiles create iconic imagery. Visual hierarchy guides attention. This clarity makes complex scenes parsable while maintaining atmospheric lighting. The narrative explores legacy and inheritance. Batman inherits his parents' mission. Talia inherits Ra's empire. Robin inherits Batman's training. These generational transfers question whether people can escape their inherited roles. Inheritance in Arkham City extends beyond material to psychological. Children inherit parents' trauma. Students inherit teachers' methods. Successors inherit predecessors' enemies. This generational debt suggests past forever shapes future, questioning whether anyone truly chooses their path. Environmental destruction persists across gameplay. Walls stay broken after explosive gel. Ice formations remain after freeze attacks. Bodies don't disappear after defeat. This persistence makes actions feel consequential, showing lasting impact on the world. Permanent environmental change in Arkham City makes violence visible. Destruction accumulates throughout the night. The city bears scars of every battle. Evidence of conflict remains. This persistence makes player actions feel real and consequential. The game examines different forms of madness. Joker's cheerful nihilism, Strange's cold calculation, Riddler's obsessive compulsion, Mad Hatter's delusional fantasy. Each represents different ways minds break under pressure. Madness in Arkham City becomes survival mechanism. Reality is too horrible to accept. Delusion provides escape. Insanity offers freedom from moral constraint. The game suggests madness might be rational response to a rational situation. Enemy AI behavior shows tactical intelligence. Groups coordinate attacks. Enemies adapt to player patterns. Reinforcements respond to alarms. This tactical awareness makes enemies feel like thinking opponents rather than mindless obstacles. Artificial intelligence in combat creates emergent storytelling. Enemies learn and adapt. Tactics evolve through encounter. Groups develop strategies. This responsive AI makes each playthrough unique, creating personal narratives through systematic interaction. The game's economy of movement rewards efficiency. Gliding conserves momentum. Grappling maintains altitude. Combat flows between enemies. These systems create elegant traversal that makes movement itself entertaining. Movement as expression in Arkham City allows player creativity. Routes become personal choices. Traversal style reflects player personality. Efficiency versus style becomes an aesthetic decision. Movement becomes play rather than mere transportation. Narrative breadcrumbs reward attention. Early dialogue hints at later revelations. Background details foreshadow events. Environmental clues suggest hidden stories. These layers reward multiple playthroughs with new understanding. Foreshadowing in Arkham City respects intelligent observation. Clues exist for attentive players. Revelations feel earned rather than arbitrary. Second playthroughs reveal hidden meanings. This layered storytelling rewards engagement and attention. The game explores how isolation affects identity. Without society's rules, people become extreme versions of themselves. Without external validation, reality becomes subjective. Without human connection, empathy erodes. These themes resonate throughout the prison setting. Isolation as crucible in Arkham City reveals true character. Social masks fall away. Pretense becomes impossible. Core self emerges. This stripping away of civilization shows what remains when everything else is removed. Technical limitations become narrative strengths. Limited space becomes dense design. Loading zones become dramatic transitions. Hardware constraints force creative solutions. These adaptations show how restrictions can inspire innovation. Constraint as creativity in Arkham City's design philosophy turns problems into features. Technical limits force elegant solutions. Resource scarcity encourages clever design. Restrictions become style. This approach shows how limitation breeds innovation. The game questions heroism's sustainability. Can Batman continue forever? Will age and injury force retirement? Who inherits the mission when Batman falls? These questions about endings give weight to the ongoing story. The mortality of heroes in Arkham City adds urgency to Batman's mission. Physical limits become apparent. Age and injury accumulate. Succession becomes concern. This acknowledgement of mortality makes heroism more meaningful because it can't last forever. Combat tells stories through animation. Batman's style shows training and experience. Enemy reactions reveal fear and pain. Environmental takedowns demonstrate improvisation. These animated narratives communicate without words. Choreographed violence in Arkham City becomes narrative language. Fighting styles reveal character. Combat evolution shows growth. Battle scars tell history. Violence becomes communication when words fail. The game explores different forms of imprisonment. Physical walls contain bodies. Psychological manipulation imprisons minds. Past trauma imprisons identity. These various prisons question what freedom truly means. Prison as metaphor in Arkham City extends beyond physical walls. Mental prisons prove stronger than physical ones. Psychological chains bind tighter than metal. Freedom becomes internal state rather than external condition. Audio logs humanize villains through private moments. Strange recordings show deteriorating sanity. Riddler's notes reveal desperate insecurity. These intimate glimpses create complexity beyond public personas. Private moments revealed through audio logs show villain vulnerability. Behind bravado lies fear. Beneath confidence hides doubt. Under masks exist humans. These glimpses complicate simple hero-villain dynamics. The game's weather affects mood beyond gameplay. Cold creates misery and desperation. Snow muffles sound and softens edges. Ice creates beauty and danger simultaneously. These atmospheric elements enhance emotional resonance. Weather as emotion in Arkham City makes environment reflect internal states. Cold mirrors emotional isolation. Snow covers like depression. Ice preserves like trauma. Natural elements become psychological metaphors. Character arcs complete within single night time frame. Catwoman chooses heroism. Batman confronts mortality. Joker faces death. These compressed transformations show how crisis catalyzes change. Compressed time in Arkham City intensifies character development. Hours contain lifetimes of change. Crisis accelerates growth. Pressure reveals truth quickly. This temporal compression makes transformation believable despite brief time frame. The game explores how violence perpetuates itself. Each death creates desire for revenge. Each victory encourages escalation. Each conflict spawns new conflicts. This cycle questions whether violence ever truly solves problems. Violence as virus in Arkham City spreads through contact. Victims become perpetrators. Witnesses become participants. Cycles continue generationally. This contagion model suggests violence as disease requiring quarantine. Environmental storytelling extends to menu screens. Character biographies update with story progress. Concept art shows development evolution. Statistics track player choices. These meta-elements extend narrative beyond gameplay. Menus as narrative space in Arkham City continue storytelling during pauses. Loading screens provide context. Statistics tell player story. Progress becomes narrative. Every screen serves story purpose. The game questions whether order and chaos are truly opposed. Batman's order enables Joker's chaos. Strange extreme order becomes chaotic. Perhaps balance requires both forces rather than victory of one. Order and chaos as complementary forces in Arkham City suggests false dichotomy. Extreme order becomes chaos. Pure chaos creates its own order. Balance requires both. This philosophical complexity challenges simple good versus evil narratives. Animation blending creates fluid combat. Attacks chain naturally together. Defensive moves flow into offense. Movement transitions seamlessly. This technical smoothness translates into gameplay satisfaction. Fluid motion in Arkham City makes players feel powerful. Actions flow without interruption. Movements connect organically. Combat becomes dance. This smoothness makes control feel like extension of will. The narrative explores how symbols become more powerful than reality. Batman as symbol transcends Bruce Wayne. Arkham City symbolizes abandonment. These symbols shape behavior beyond their literal truth. Symbolic power in Arkham City exceeds physical force. Ideas motivate more than threats. Myths inspire more than facts. Symbols outlive creators. This emphasis on symbolic over literal shows how perception shapes reality. Sound design differentiates materials and surfaces. Footsteps vary on snow versus metal. Impacts sound different on armor versus flesh. These audio details create tactile sensation through sound. Materiality through sound in Arkham City makes world feel solid. Surfaces have texture. Objects have weight. Spaces have substance. Sound creates physical presence beyond visual. The game explores how crisis reveals character. Pressure strips away pretense. Danger exposes true priorities. Death approaches force honesty. These revelations show who people really are beneath masks. Crisis as truth in Arkham City shows authentic self. Comfortable lies become impossible. Social performances end. Core values emerge. Extreme situations reveal what normal life conceals. Level design guides without restricting. Visual landmarks provide orientation. Lighting suggests paths. Architecture funnels movement. These gentle guides maintain agency while preventing confusion. Architectural guidance in Arkham City respects player intelligence. Paths suggest rather than demand. Options remain available. Exploration rewards divergence. This soft direction maintains freedom within structure. The narrative questions whether justice and vengeance differ. Batman claims to seek justice. Criminals see only vengeance. Perhaps the distinction exists only in perspective rather than action. Justice versus vengeance in Arkham City becomes semantic argument. Both involve punishment. Both satisfy grievance. Both perpetuate conflict. The difference might be rationalization rather than substance. Character customization through gadgets reflects growth. New tools address new challenges. Upgrades show accumulated experience. Equipment tells story of Knight's progression. Equipment as character development in Arkham City makes growth tangible. Tools reflect lessons learned. Upgrades show adaptation. Arsenal tells story. Progress becomes visible through inventory. The game explores how environment shapes behavior. Prison makes everyone prisoner or guard. Isolation creates paranoia. Scarcity encourages hoarding. These environmental pressures transform identity. Environmental determinism in Arkham City suggests context creates character. Place shapes person. Situation determines action. Environment becomes destiny. This environmental influence questions free will versus circumstance. Animation anticipation telegraphs attacks. Enemy wind-up signal incoming strikes. Batman's poses precede special moves. These visual cues make combat readable and fair. Telegraph as teaching in Arkham City makes combat learnable. Patterns become readable. Reactions become possible. Fairness emerges from clarity. This visual communication teaches through play. The narrative explores prices of survival. Physical survival may cost moral integrity. Psychological survival may require comfortable lies. Everyone pays something to survive Arkham City. Survival economics in Arkham City shows everything has cost. Safety requires compromise. Sanity demands denial. Life needs sacrifice. This economy of survival makes existence itself expensive. Environmental audio creates living world. Distant conversations suggest ongoing life. Mechanical sounds indicate infrastructure. Natural sounds persist despite urbanization. Ambient life in Arkham City makes world feel inhabited. Background activity continues. World exists beyond player. Life persists despite death. This audio presence creates living environment. The game questions whether heroes create villains or respond to them. Did Batman cause escalation? Would supervillains exist without superheroes? These chicken and egg questions challenge conventional narratives. Causality paradox in Arkham City questions origins. Heroes might create villains through opposition. Villains might create heroes through necessity. Cycle has no clear beginning. This ambiguity challenges simple origin stories. Combat scoring encourages stylish play. Variety scores higher than efficiency. Perfection requires creativity. Points become secondary reward beyond victory. Style as substance in Arkham City combat makes aesthetics meaningful. Beauty equals effectiveness. Grace indicates mastery. Form follows function. This scoring system makes art from violence. The narrative explores how power reveals character rather than corrupting it. Strange was always megalomaniacal. Penguin was always cruel. Power simply enabled existing nature. Power as revealer in Arkham City suggests corruption already existed. Authority enables rather than creates evil. Position reveals rather than changes character. This perspective questions whether power corrupts or merely unmasks. Loading screens provide lore without stopping gameplay. Radio chatter continues story. Database entries expand understanding. Progress bars hide behind information. Productive waiting in Arkham City respects player time. Downtime becomes uptime. Loading becomes learning. Waiting serves purpose. This design philosophy values every moment. The game explores how trauma becomes identity. Characters define themselves through worse experiences. Healing will require abandoning self-concept. Perhaps some wounds become too essential to heal. Trauma as foundation in Arkham City makes damage definitional. Pain becomes purpose. Wounds become identity. Healing threatens self. This trauma integration questions whether recovery equals erasure. Movement momentum creates physical weight. Batman doesn't stop instantly. Gliding requires speed maintenance. Physics grounds fantastic elements in believable rules. Physical momentum in Arkham City makes movement feel real. Bodies have mass. Motion has inertia. Actions have weight. This physics grounding makes fantastic feel possible. The narrative questions whether redemption requires forgiveness or just change. Can criminals redeem themselves without victim forgiveness? Does society owe second chances? These questions lack easy answers. Redemption complexity in Arkham City shows no simple formula. Change might not equal forgiveness. Forgiveness might not equal redemption. Justice might prevent both. This moral complexity refuses easy resolution. Enemy barks reveal personality and state. Confident threats become fearful pleas. Coordination becomes panic. Audio communicates tactical information through emotion. Voice as information in Arkham City makes enemies readable through sound. Tone reveals awareness. Volume indicates distance. Emotion shows state. This audio telegraph helps players understand situation. The game explores how names carry power. Batman as title transcends Bruce. Joker as identity replaces original name. These chosen names become more real than given ones. Names as destiny in Arkham City shows language creating reality. Titles define roles. Names shape behavior. Identity follows designation. This nominal determinism suggests words create worlds. Lighting creates gameplay opportunities. Shadows enable stealth. Bright areas expose movement. Darkness becomes tool and obstacle simultaneously. Light as mechanic in Arkham City makes illumination interactive. Visibility determines vulnerability. Shadows provide safety. Light becomes resource. This lighting system makes environment tactical. The narrative explores prices of principle. Batman's no-killing rule costs lives. Pacifism enables continued violence. Principles become luxuries in survival situations. Principle as privilege in Arkham City shows morality requires security. Ethics need stability. Values demand comfort. Survival trumps ideology. This hierarchy of needs questions absolute morality. Animation layering adds subtle details. Cape physics overlay combat moves. Facial expressions accompany dialogue. Small touches create believability. Detailed density in Arkham City rewards close observation. Micro expressions reveal emotion. Subtle movements show thought. Small gestures communicate. This layered animation creates depth. The game questions whether people can escape their nature. Catwoman struggles with thievery. Two-Face can't reconcile halves. Perhaps identity is destiny regardless of desire. Nature versus choice in Arkham City suggests limited agency. Character might be fixed. Change might be impossible. Identity might be prison. This determinism questions free will. Audio mixing prioritizes important sounds. Combat effects cut through ambience. Story dialogue rises above action. Critical information remains audible regardless of chaos. Audio hierarchy in Arkham City ensures communication. Important dominates irrelevant. Signal defeats noise. Information penetrates chaos. This mixing clarity maintains comprehension. The narrative explores how legends grow from reality. Batman becomes more than man. Joker transcends individual identity. Myths replace truth through repetition. Myth-making in Arkham City shows stories exceeding facts. Reputation surpasses reality. Legend outlives life. Fiction becomes truth. This mythological growth makes symbols from people. Control responsiveness creates connection. Input immediately produces result. Lag would break immersion. Technical precision enables emotional engagement. Responsive control in Arkham City makes player feel powerful. Action follows thought. Response matches intention. Control becomes transparent. This immediacy creates flow state. The game explores how hope survives in hopeless places. Political prisoners maintain dignity. Some criminals seek redemption. Light persists even in overwhelming darkness. Hope as resistance in Arkham City shows human resilience. Dignity survives degradation. Humanity persists despite dehumanization. Light penetrates darkness. This persistent hope makes survival meaningful. Environmental variety prevents visual fatigue. Districts have distinct architecture. Interiors contrast with exteriors. Visual diversity maintains interest across long playtime. Visual variety in Arkham City keeps experience fresh. Each area feels unique. Repetition never occurs. Interest maintains throughout. This diversity prevents monotony. The narrative questions whether ends justify means. Strange genocide might end crime. Ra's destruction could save the world. These utilitarian calculations challenge moral absolutism. Utilitarian horror in Arkham City shows logical atrocity. Math justifies murder. Statistics excuse suffering. Calculation replaces compassion. This cold logic reveals danger of pure rationality. Combat impact conveys weight. Heavy attacks feel powerful. Quick strikes seem precise. Physical feedback matches visual action. Impact feedback in Arkham City makes violence tangible. Hits have weight. Strikes feel solid. Combat becomes physical. This feedback makes fighting feel real. The game explores how institutional failure creates individual action. Police corruption enables Batman. Arkham's failure creates Arkham City. System breakdown forces personal intervention. Institutional collapse in Arkham City necessitates vigilantism. Official channels fail. Legal systems corrupt. Authority becomes enemy. This breakdown justifies extra-legal action. Audio reverb defines spatial relationships. Large rooms echo differently than small. Open spaces lack wall reflections. Sound describes invisible architecture. Spatial audio in Arkham City makes space audible. Size becomes hearable. Shape creates sound. Architecture as voice. This acoustic space gives dimension. The narrative explores how obsession destroys perspective. Riddler's need to prove superiority. Freeze's focus on saving Nora. Single-minded pursuit blinds to consequences. Obsession as blindness in Arkham City shows focus becoming flaw. Purpose becomes pathology. Goal obscures cost. Mission destroys meaning. This tunnel vision makes strength into weakness. Movement flow rewards mastery. Expert players traverse without stopping. Momentum maintains through transitions. Skill translates into graceful efficiency. Flow state in Arkham City movement makes traversal meditative. Action becomes automatic. Thought disappears. Player merges with character. This flow creates transcendent experience. The game questions whether pure evil exists. Every villain has sympathetic moments. Motivations remain comprehensible, if not acceptable. Perhaps evil is perspective rather than absolute. Evil as perspective in Arkham City suggests moral relativity. Everyone justifies themselves. No one sees themselves as evil. Understanding doesn't mean accepting. This complexity challenges simple morality. Visual effects communicate game state. Color saturation indicates health. Screen effects show poison progression. Visual language replaces UI elements. Visual communication in Arkham City reduces interface need. Effects convey information. Visuals replace numbers. Intuition guides understanding. This visual language makes status readable. The narrative explores how suffering shapes worldview. Freeze sees world as cold and uncaring. Joker finds existence absurd. Trauma creates philosophical lens. Suffering as philosophy in Arkham City shows pain creating perspective. Experience shapes belief. Trauma determines worldview. Pain becomes lens. This experiential philosophy makes suffering meaningful. Enemy variety forces tactical adaptation. Shields require aerial attacks. Armor needs specific combos. Diversity prevents single strategy dominance. Tactical diversity in Arkham City keeps combat fresh. Each enemy requires different approach. Strategies must evolve. Adaptation becomes necessary. This variety maintains engagement. The game explores how society defines sanity. Arkham's inmates are labeled insane. Society's treatment seems equally mad. Perhaps sanity is simply majority consensus. Sanity as consensus in Arkham City questions mental health definitions. Normal becomes statistical. Sanity equals conformity. Madness means difference. This relativism challenges psychiatric authority. Audio stingers punctuate important moments. Musical hits emphasize impacts. Sound effects highlight discoveries. Audio exclamation points guide attention. Audio punctuation in Arkham City creates emphasis. Sound marks importance. Music guides emotion. Effects direct attention. This audio highlighting focuses experience. The narrative questions whether justice exists objectively. Every character believes they're justified. Moral certainty enables atrocity. Perhaps justice is always subjective. Justice as constructed in Arkham City shows moral relativity. Right depends on perspective. Justice serves power. Law reflects bias. This subjectivity challenges absolute morality. Control mapping creates intuitive action. Related functions group together. Complexity builds gradually. Interface disappears through familiarity. Intuitive control in Arkham City makes playing natural. Layout feels logical. Complexity emerges slowly. Mastery develops organically. This interface design enables flow. The game explores how identity fragments under pressure. Two-Face literally splits. Batman/Bruce divide widens. Coherent self becomes luxury. Identity fragmentation in Arkham City shows pressure-breaking unity. Self divides for survival. Personality splits under stress. Coherence becomes impossible. This fragmentation questions unified identity. Environmental traversal puzzles use gadget combinations. Solutions require observing possibilities. Multiple approaches reward creativity. Puzzles feel organic rather than arbitrary. Organic puzzles in Arkham City feel natural. Solutions make sense. Multiple paths exist. Creativity rewards exploration. This puzzle design respects intelligence. The narrative explores how proximity to death changes perspective. Joker faces mortality for first time. Batman confronts his limits. Death's approach forces truth. Death as clarifier in Arkham City strips away illusion. Mortality forces honesty. End approaches demand truth. Death reveals essence. This proximity creates clarity. Animation transitions hide technical seams. Movements blend naturally. State changes appear smooth. Technical excellence enables immersion. Seamless animation in Arkham City maintains illusion. Transitions invisible. Changes feel natural. Technology disappears. This technical mastery enables belief. The game questions whether heroism is sustainable long-term. Physical toll accumulates. Psychological damage compounds. Eventually, every hero falls. Heroic mortality in Arkham City shows limits. Bodies break. Minds fracture. Heroes age. This acknowledgement makes heroism tragic. Audio positioning creates three-dimensional space. Sounds above differ from below. Left and right separation guides navigation. Ears become additional sense. 3D audio in Arkham City makes space navigable by sound. Position becomes audible. Distance hearable through volume. Direction clear through stereo. This spatial audio aids navigation. The narrative explores how ideology justifies atrocity. Roz believes in greater good. Strange sees necessary evil. Noble goals excuse horrible methods. Ideological extremism in Arkham City shows thought enabling atrocity. Belief justifies anything. Purpose excuses method. End validates means. This ideological danger reveals thought's darkness. Gadget progression feels earned. New tools solve established problems. Upgrades address specific challenges. Equipment evolution matches story needs. Earned progression in Arkham City makes growth meaningful. Tools solve real problems. Upgrades feel necessary. Progress serves purpose. This meaningful advancement satisfies. The game explores how institutions perpetuate problems they claim to solve. Arkham creates more insanity. Prison increases criminality. Solutions become new problems. Institutional paradox in Arkham City shows systems self-perpetuating. Solutions create problems. Interventions worsen situations. Help becomes harm. This cycle questions institutional legitimacy. Visual storytelling transcends language. Environmental details communicate universally. Animation expresses emotion clearly. Images speak without words. Universal visual language in Arkham City crosses linguistic barriers. Pictures tell stories. Movement conveys meaning. Images communicate directly. This visual storytelling needs no translation. The narrative questions whether people deserve second chances. Criminals might reform. Victims deserve justice. Mercy and justice conflict fundamentally. Second chance complexity in Arkham City shows competing values. Redemption versus justice. Mercy versus fairness. Hope versus experience. This conflict has no resolution. Combat rhythm creates flow state. Action and reaction become automatic. Conscious thought disappears. Player merges with character. Combat meditation in Arkham City transcends gaming. Thought stops. Action flows. Self disappears. This transcendent state makes violence paradoxically peaceful. The game explores how classification shapes treatment. Labeled criminals lose rights. Designated insane lose agency. Categories determine fate. Classification as destiny in Arkham City shows labels creating reality. Diagnosis determines treatment. Category defines possibility. Name shapes fate. This classification system creates what it describes. As our extended journey through Arkham City draws to its close, we find ourselves changed by the experience. Much like Batman himself emerges transformed from that long, dark night. We've explored every corner of this snow-covered prison, from the heights of Wonder Tower to the depths of Wonder City, from the Joker's final laugh to the silence that follows. Through these 40,000 words, we've examined not just a game, but meditation on justice, identity, morality, and what it means to be human when humanity itself is under assault. The image of Batman carrying the Joker's body remains burned into memory, a moment that captures the tragedy of enemies who define each other, now separated by the ultimate boundary. Arkham City asks us to question everything we thought we knew about heroes and villains, showing us that the line between them is drawn in pencil, not ink, always capable of being erased and redrawn. As you drift into sleep, perhaps you'll dream of gliding through that perpetual winter night, solving impossible riddles, facing fears made manifest, or simply standing on a rooftop looking over a city that represents both the worst of human nature and the desperate hope that someone, anyone, will stand against the darkness. The story of Arkham City ends, but its questions linger in our minds like the Joker's laughter echoing through empty streets. In the end, we're left with the understanding that justice isn't about winning or losing, living or dying, but about the choices we make when faced with impossible situations. Even in places as dark as Arkham City, even in the deepest winter of the soul, we can choose to be better than our circumstances, to rise above our nature, to become something more. That's the real legacy of that night in Arkham City. The proof that even in hell, heroes can exist not because they're perfect, but because they keep trying despite their imperfections. Sweet dreams, and remember that dawn always comes eventually, even after the longest, darkest night.